what's going on? Hello, hello, hello. It's Tuesday, the 9th of May. And we are here on twitch.tv on the channel djmuel. It's me, it's my channel, I own it. Fuck you. You all have to pay me rent to be here. Felt sick saying that, to be honest. Welcome in. Welcome in. I've got a jam-packed show for you today. Starting off with this very, very cool pamphlet I got with ORGANISE. If you don't know about ORGANISE, very, very cool leftist zine. Comes out every... Well, it's not a zine. It's more of an actual magazine. Comes out every 6 months. You can get that on Anarchist Federation's Patreon. It's really cool. I think you could just pay like £1 a month. It's all good. You can get yourself a nice, hefty, propaganda-filled magazine every 6 months. So there you go. But I will be reading from that and also this on today's stream. So very exciting. That's right. I'm going to be reading. I'm going to be reading together, chat. I'm going to be doing a react stream of books. It's a book reaction, so I'll be reading it. I'll be going, this calculator so well, prudent and cautious man. Ah, yes, you see, the reason it's cautious is because whatever. It's going to be something like that. I don't know, not really planned it out properly, but who cares about that? But I'm forgetting the most precious babies in the stream, and it's the chatters, and they're all here. Look at them. Hello to my sweet chatters. Hello, Adorable. Hello, Awesome Grebe. Hello, Porcelain Giant. B-Rat. We've also got Pata Potato. We've also got Momero. Do we have anybody else? We've got Prince Infidel. We've got Gumma Master. How are you all doing? It's going to be story time with Muel. That's right. That's right. And I am well. Thanks for asking. I had a really good... Yeah, sorry I didn't see you yesterday, chat. I know that, like, a lot of people are going to be not wanting to watch YouTube streams, and that's all fine. But I was streaming on YouTube. I'm testing out streaming on YouTube 1 day a week, and I'm trying all the different days out at the moment. So yeah, like yesterday I was checking out Monday, see how Monday went. Monday's not a great day on YouTube, not gonna lie. Don't know if it was because of the bank holiday or because I was streaming games or whatever. But I'm gonna switch it up next week, and I'm gonna do a gaming stream. I'm gonna be doing, because I'm doing, if you want to watch the whole... See, it's a master plan. It's an absolute master plan. None of you even ready for this shit, right? But what I'm planning on doing is experimenting. So if you want to, like, watch the full series of the gaming stream, so I'm going to do a bit of a gaming stream on Twitch, and if you like it, you go, oh, I've enjoyed watching Muel play Fallout, the original Fallout, then you'd have to watch the rest of it on the VOD channel. So those of you that aren't subscribed to the VOD channel have to go over there and subscribe to the VOD channel, watch the videos, like, comment, and subscribe. So you see, it's a very cleverly hatched plan I've got going on here. So you'll have to do that. But anyway, I'm gonna also try out a Just Chatting stream, and all these VODs, whether they're on YouTube, whether they're on Twitch, unless they're an unlisted patron-only stream, you'll be able to get them on the VOD channel. Patron-only streams, you'll only be able to get those on the Patreon, so consider signing up, you know? Look, I'm already, what, like 10 minutes into the stream, and I'm already shilling? You know, come on. Come on, give me money. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to try that out. But yeah, apologies to those of you that missed that last night. It was a fun stream. I do enjoy streaming over on YouTube, but it's not been that good in terms of donos. So, so far, it's probably not going to work out, but that's why I'm trying out like a Just Chatting Politics stream next week, because you never know, that might attract a different crowd, and people might want to, do you know what I mean, stop by and support. So we'll see. Other than that, what have I been doing this weekend? If you missed the stream yesterday, I told everyone what was up to this weekend. Me and my partner were just chilling out. I made some vegan brownies on Thursday last week, and I also made some focaccia, some whole wheat bread, which is of course vegan just in general. Some focaccia recipes want you to use honey. You don't need honey. It's such a subtle taste when they add honey to like focaccia. It's not even worth it anyway. It's completely absurd. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I put honey in my focaccia. Oh dear, well, does it make a difference? Well, I think it does. Shut up. Fucking load of shit. Anyway, I also made, these were unfortunately not vegan, but I'm going to try a vegan alternative the next time I make them in a couple of weeks or so. Made some creatine gummies. So they're quite good. I think it's the overwhelming flavor of the gelatin that is what makes it bad. So I'm just going to try it with agar next time, which is like the vegan version of gelatin. So yeah. So gonna try that out, and but yeah, I also made vegan brownies, and I tried these vegan brownies previously last weekend, but they turned into like a kind of souffle, so it wasn't that good. But this time I cooked them in a tin rather than a ceramic dish, so it cooked more throughout, you know, like the heat dispersed throughout the brownies. But yeah, I just think the only thing was the cocoa amount. Yeah, the tin worked. It was the cocoa amount though in the chocolate itself, because it was like 85% cocoa. So this time I'm just gonna try 70%, because 70% is more agreeable to my palate particularly, and it's still vegan. So anyway, that's that. So they were quite nice. But what's funny is we ran out of the brownies over the weekend, because it was a long weekend and Red Planet got cancelled on Sunday. I was like, to my partner, I was like, shit, like, just, can we Google, like, what I've got in and see if we can make, like, you know, some vegan desserts? Because I'm really trying hard to not, like, go out and eat, like, processed foods. Do you know what I mean? Like, horrible, you know, like cookies that have got, like they're full of palm oil and shit. Do you know what I mean? And, like, you know, all that kind of nonsense. So, try and, like, not have those on my cheat days. So, yeah, like, my partner stuck it in ChatGPT. We were talking about this on the stream yesterday. My partner stuck it on ChatGPT, and she said, like, right, okay, it's telling you that you can make vegan cookies. And we made vegan cookies, and they were really fucking nice. Like, really fucking nice. ChatGPT got, like, a couple of things wrong. Like, the baking time was definitely a bit wrong. And also, I forgot to mention that I had oat milk in. So, it just wanted me to do it with vegetable oil. And, like, I don't know if you've ever made, like, cookie dough with just vegetable oil. But it's very bad. It's like really thick. It's like way too thick. So I just added like half a cup of oat milk to the recipe that it gave me, and they turned out really good. So that was great, and yeah, so amazing. ChatGPT is good for something. So yeah, I've saved that recipe, and I'm gonna probably do it again this week. So did that this weekend. Also did some pretty cool stuff. I didn't talk about this on the stream yesterday because I forgot. But on Saturday, me and some comrades from GMTU, we went to a member's house to help them. Well, they came to one of our members' houses, who's like helping with the organizing and stuff, to organize their houses, because, oh boy, they got one of the most like unhinged psycho landlords. You know, he'll like ring them and just be like, right, I'm coming around now for a viewing. And they'll be like, you can't do that. You need to give us 24 hours notice. And he'll just be like, right, you're gone. 2 days, you're gone. You're out. You know, sort of like really threatening, really intimidating and stuff. And so there's all sorts of things that he's like, you know, done wrong. It's funny because when I talk about these things, sometimes I'm like, am I saying too much? Like, is there a chance that this could like get back to him or like whatever? But then like, I think, like, there are so many landlords like this that it doesn't matter. Like, there are actually loads of landlords like that. I had this one. It was really disturbing, actually. We had this one come through in the union recently about a fella who had literally been violently evicted from his gaff. Like, the landlord came with, like, mates and just beat the shit out of him when he was in his bed and dragged him out of his house, and he woke up in the hospital. It's like insane, like absolutely fucking insane. And guess what, chat? The police said it was a civil matter. The police said 4 armed men coming into your gaff in the middle of the night and beating the shit out of you and putting you on the street, that's a civil matter. It's nothing to do with the police, that. Fucking cunts. Absolute cunts. Anyway, I digress. Lots of work to be done. However, Oh, hey, Echo Baz. How you doing? Welcome in. Yeah, 1312 for sure. Anyway, so, you know, we'd been helping them organize and stuff like that. It's very exciting because if we take this guy on, we're going to get like a massive win because he's just broken so many laws. There's no way that he'll have any kind of legal defense to do anything about anything. The law is still on his side, unfortunately, because that's just how landlords are protected in this country and lots of other countries. But yeah, it's looking to be a really interesting dispute. So did that on Saturday, and yeah, I started watching Twin Peaks with my partner because obviously I love Twin Peaks. So everyone that I know has to love Twin Peaks as well. Otherwise, you know, we're going to have problems. So yeah, we watched Twin Peaks. It was really, really good. She was enjoying it. She's following it. She's a bit confused for the first bit, but she just asked me what's going on, and I tell her. So it's all good. So we did that, and then yeah, we just relaxed, played some Mario Tennis. It's been a good long weekend. Do you know what I mean? It's been a good long weekend. Hey, Middle Earth Marxist, how's it going? He'd probably be stoked to remember how these people brag about evictions on their socials. Yeah, they do, but like, I don't know if this guy will brag about what he did. Oh man, it's definitely different in the UK. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, this guy sounds like he means business. Do you know what I mean? So it's a difficult one. It's a real difficult one. But I don't think he's going to be bragging about any of that on his social media. So yeah, that's where I'm up to. Been back the gym today. You know, did some lifting, feeling good. Done some shopping, feeling nice. Read some agitprop. It's all good. You know, had a good one. I hope you've all had a good long weekend as well. What have you been up to? Goma Master says, remember playing the original Fallout, just not when I played it. Yeah, it's a good game. I'm enjoying it. You know, it's fun as hell. Like, just like the save scumming aspect of it, and like trying to deal with like the really high difficulty curve. It's fun. I love shit like that. Homemade bacon also makes your house smell amazing. It does. Yeah. Kind of miss living with several roommates. I never bake now. Just can't eat as much sweet stuff. Yeah, for sure. Maybe you can like slim down the recipe. You know what I mean? So you can like cook less, so that you don't eat too much of it or whatever. That could be a thing to do. Which Mario Tennis? 64, Nintendo 64. Because I got it on the Switch in it with the online thing. So yeah. Although you have to pay like a bit more for it, which is really annoying. Chat, we got some cool stuff to talk about today. First of all, hold up, I wonder if I can find this. It'd be cool to just have like an image up on the screen. For this. Oh, it's all Game of Thrones stuff. Aha. No, here we go. Okay, cool. Found it. Okay, cool. So, first thing we're going to talk about. Now, put on your hazmats, everyone. We're jumping into the politics category. So, you know, look out. Watch out. First segment of the stream is called Fuck the King. That's what we're doing. Now, this here is by a fella called Vladimir Lloyd. I think he wrote the whole thing. I might be wrong. Let me just make sure I'm getting this right. Okay, it doesn't fucking say anywhere. Hang on. Let me Google this real quick. Why? Where was I typing that? Where was I typing that just now? What the hell? I thought I was typing. So, as I said, I got Organize magazine. Oh, dude, what the hell? Organize magazine. Okay. Let's take a look. Okay. So this bit, this thing here, I got this on with ORGANISE magazine, and for some reason they've not credited the writer of this little pamphlet, which is fine. No probs. That's kind of cool. But anyway, it came with the latest ORGANISE magazine. So we're gonna read a bit of this, basically. So, Fuck the King, it's called. And it starts off with a quote from Captain Vimes from the Discworld series, which says, "And now they get one sniff of an ermine robe and they go all gooey." And then it goes into the text as a whole. When Queen Elizabeth II died, a mass hysteria engulfed Britain. News channels were packed with nothing but fawning praise for her 70-year reign. The country ground to a standstill at such a rapid rate that it put the preceding months-long strike wave to shame. Countless mourners lined up around central London just to catch a glimpse of her coffin. It was strange for so many of us to be mourning someone that none of us had ever met, but who simultaneously was so omnipresent in our lives. Such an outpouring of societal grief, usually expected of authoritarian states with lifelong dictators, unveiled for the first time in decades the totalitarian cult that lies at the heart of the United Kingdom. It was as though God themselves had died, because to millions of people, they had. Now, it's really, like, important to say that, like, just how bizarre that kind of, you know, thing that was happening in the general populace was actually happening in the UK. You know, like, at the time when the Queen died, me and my partner, we were on the train home from Wales. We'd been on holiday. We'd had a bit of a, you know, a weird holiday, considering, like, some of the things that were going on with me on the internet at the time. But we were happy to be coming home, and we were having a laugh that the Queen had died, because we don't believe in absolute monarchs. Do you know what I mean? Not even an well, you could argue that the Queen and the King and the monarchy in England are absolute monarchies, but, you know, whatever. Just the idea of a monarch in general. Thanks for the follow, by the way. And we had an older lady, not elderly, but an older lady who we'd been chatting to on the train in front of us. And we were kind of laughing and stuff. And she said, "Excuse me, is she died? Has the Queen died?" And we went, yeah, she's dead. And this woman just, like, started stamping her feet, going, no. And it was, like, so odd. It was a very, very odd situation. A queer situation, if you will. Not the good kind of queer. It was like, I couldn't work out if this person genuinely felt sorry for the Queen, right? Which I find it really hard to believe. Even if you think you feel sorry for the Queen or have some kind of empathy with her or whatever, anything like that, I still find it hard to believe that that is something that is genuine. That you, like, genuinely think that that is, like, correct. It's a correct way to feel. I feel like people are lying to themselves when they do this thing. And it's because of all sorts of things. It's because of state propaganda, etc., etc. But this is the kind of stuff that was going on. Like, my gran was like, you know, she wouldn't speak for a couple of days. And I'm like, you have to be fucking kidding me, man. This is crazy. She never did anything for anyone. She never did anything for anyone at all, other than herself and her own family, right? In fact, she murdered the only fucking family that was doing something good, you know? Pro-HIV support activism, you know, LGBTQIA plus positive protesting, you know, anti-landmine kind of stuff. You know, Princess Di. Anyway. Hey, Froggy Mano, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. In a box. Lizzie's in the box. Yeah, that's it, Echo Baz. Yeah, didn't know anything about the Queen. Just in love with the status symbol. Yeah. I think that's how a lot of people are. I think that's how a lot of people are when it comes to the monarchy in this country. So, moving on. You go on to write. Zach, thank you so much for the raid. How are you doing, sweet Zach app? You wonderful boy. Please, please, please go and show some love to Zach, our Aussie comrade, Danander. How was your stream, my friend? How was your stream, comrade? What were you up to? If you don't know me, welcome in. My name's djmuel. I'm a leftist political streamer and activist, housing activist from the UK. My pronouns are he, him. We're currently doing a little segment on the monarchy, because if you're not aware, you might be aware because of Zach, because unfortunately the king of our country is still unfortunately the king of his country. You know, you might be aware that the coronation happened this weekend, and as a avid anti-monarchist, I am indeed talking about that. But welcome in, everybody. Hello, Froggy Mano, Zeode UK, hello. Milton Kitano, Beanie Gaby, I'm not sure if you came in with the raid or not, but hello. Adam Altogether, Riolan86, hi. Good on you, how are you doing? 23 of 53 of you is raiding in because Twitch is a broken site. Twitch is a broken site. It's really fucked, yeah. It's really, really fucked. Well, you know, I don't know how to fucking, I don't know what to do. Twitch is so fucked at the moment. It's so fucked at the moment, honestly. You know? Posh bloke got an old new hat. Yeah, literally. Yeah. So anyway, what we're reading, yeah, is this. It's called Fuck the King. It's a little pamphlet that comes with ORGANISE magazine. If you don't know what ORGANISE magazine is, check out Anarchist Federation on Patreon. They do like a 6-monthly magazine with lots of cool stuff about organizing, agitprop, propaganda, all this kind of stuff in there. It's really, really good. And so it came with a couple of pamphlets, a couple of extra articles. This half year, whatever you want to call it. So we got a little adaptation of one of Peter Kropotkin's writings, The Spirit of Revolt, and we got the Fuck the King, which is written by an anonymous person. Thank you for the follow, by the way. I watched the coronation for a bit. I enjoyed the camera zooming in on all the people that yawned during the ceremony. That's quite funny. That's quite funny. I couldn't possibly watch the coronation because I'd probably throw up. Watching the whole thing was so odd, being from a country that hasn't had a monarch for over a century. The only monarchists we have in Germany are the people that were planning a coup back in December. I remember that. What were they called? They were called something like something burger, Reichensburgers or something. Yeah, we spoke about that on Red Planet. Yeah. The Aussie press having an especially messy fit about one ABC commentator suggesting a republic during the coronation. Dozens of columns today alone. Oh my goodness. Realan says, do you support republic? Do you mean, do I support a republic? Or do I support the organization republic? Reichsburger, that's what they're called, yeah. Surprised he didn't have a heart attack going outside for the day. Yeah. You've nailed it when saying it was like God had died, since monarchy and religion link so weirdly linked still today. Know the organization. I don't know a lot about Republic, if I'm honest, real. I know that Graham Smith has been popping off on Twitter. He's like one of the leaders of the organizations or whatever, or he is the founder or something like that. I think he's pretty funny. He's been saying some pretty funny stuff. I don't know enough about Republic, unfortunately. Germany can have Charles. He's pretty much German anyway. Yeah. We're gonna get to this. I'm reading this for everyone, basically. That's what's going on. I'm reading it. Right. Okay. So we're gonna crack on. Right. So, before Elizabeth's body had gone cold, the position was immediately handed to her oldest son. As is the tradition, the Queen is dead, long live the King. We've been ruled by the same person for 5 generations, and now, without so much as a moment to adjust to the change, we're ruled by someone else. People that objected to the regime change or asked for a democratic say over the transition were attacked, arrested, and prosecuted for speaking out. The first act of the monarchy's latest iteration was a crackdown on freedom of speech. So, yeah. The people in Republic were getting arrested. That's what this is talking about as well. And what you also have to remember, right, is that in this country, right, we may not have an absolute monarchy, but we do have a monarchy, yeah? So every single law that goes through Parliament has to be agreed to by the king, yeah? Now, what a lot of monarchists are talking about at the minute is about how King Charles III, he's done a lot of environmental work, hasn't he? He's done a lot of environmental work, supporting the environment, all them things he's done, right? And when you ask him what things he's done, they find it quite hard to answer because it's not actually. The joke is that what I'm doing here is I'm doing a bit about how he's not actually done anything. That's the bit that I'm doing here. He's not actually done anything. They say he's done stuff, but he hasn't. But even then, right? Even then, yeah. You know, if they come up with some of the things that he's done, like, you know, he might have, like, you know, financed some stuff here or there. The fundamental fact of the matter is that he allowed the new public order bill, which allows for the arrest of peaceful protesters, yeah? He allowed that to be put into law. Like, he let that happen. Like, he has the power to say no to all of that. He's got the power to veto it and be like, it's not happening, yeah? And we all know the majority of protesters who've been arrested at the moment, yeah? Well, not in the grand scheme of things. There's lots of different types of protesters been arrested for loads of things, but we know that most of them at the moment are not just anti-monarchy protesters, but also, previously to that, Just Stop Oil, right? We know that there are at least like 10 or 12 protesters of Just Stop Oil in prison. Actually in prison for peacefully protesting, mind you, not hurting anyone, not causing violence to anyone in any way, not even sabotaging stuff, yeah? In prison. They're just in fucking jail. Right? He could change all that if he wanted to, but he won't, will he? So, he doesn't actually stand for the environment. Anyway. Soon, an old English wizard... This has already happened now. This has already happened. This is what happened this weekend. An old English wizard will present him with a special hat while he sat on a special slab of Scottish sandstone. And his sovereignty over the lives of all Britons will be confirmed. There will be a huge parade through London, guarded by an army of police to ensure it's not ruined by any dissenters that might interfere and to block any signs of the country's systemic poverty from spoiling the view from our new king's golden carriage. And that did happen, didn't it? They did silence dissenters. They did do that, actually. No expense will be spared to ensure the country's richest and most powerful man finally gets his big special day. While His Majesty's government could barely scrape together any money to provide starving children with food, they managed to find enough down the nation's sofa to provide an estimated £100 million just for the coronation. Bread is literally being stolen from our mouths to pay for an exercise in societally enforced narcissism. How did we get to this point? How did we end up at such a dire stage in our existence that millions of people are starving in the streets, while the richest and most powerful few gorge themselves in palaces? And what can we do to stop it? The Crown Estate owns a portfolio of properties worth £15.6 billion, including 241 in central London. And if you can see here, if I get to this thing, there's a little map that this was from The Guardian, and you can see it there. There's 241 properties, all in central London, among Regent Street, Oxford Circus, and Piccadilly Circus, near Green Park, you know? These are all raking in a lot of fucking dough. A lot of fucking money. So, anyway, we've got Goblin Hugger in the chat. How you doing? Padishah Emperor. Oh, this is going to be good. What monarchy? All monarchy, yeah, like Riolan said. And then Padishah Emperor says, and replace it with dictatorship. See, what's interesting there, Padishah Emperor in the chat, is that what you've done is... so, and then you've also said after that, noted. You've also said after that, noted. Like, that's what everybody here thinks is a good idea, right? That's what you've done, yeah? So, what's interesting is, first of all, you've implied that we all believe this thing that you've said, which is not true. You've put words in our mouths, haven't you? And secondly, what's happened is, you know, you've implied that the monarchy is not a dictatorship in general. They're literally most of the monarchies that still exist all around the world are actually dictatorships, aren't they? Because it's one person is special and he's, you know, born, he, she, you know, maybe they, them, maybe there's like a they, them, you know, monarch somewhere, who knows, you know? But the long and short of it is that they are deemed to be better than everyone, and they're born with a special right to rule over others, aren't they? That is actually the definition of a dictator, isn't it? That's actually the definition of it. So there you go. But it's interesting that you've come in here and said that already. It's just an interesting thing that you've done that. What monarchy? All. Oh, and replace with dictatorship. Noted. Yes, you can note that down in your special book of things that people have never said, can't you? So go ahead and do that. Anyway, Young Black Economist, how you doing? What's going on? Death in a Lovely Italian, hello. You've changed your name. You don't know sarcasm. Listen, Padishah Emperor, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. Stop talking to my chat. I'm talking to you. Thank you so much, Ezra at 4Wen, for gifting a sub to Ickid Trunks. Enjoy your ad-free view and your sub badge and all that. Also, hi Kiri Magic, how you doing? Welcome in. We got some people coming in. So, anyway, we're up to this now. So, alongside all these properties that the king owns, that the royal family owns, yeah? Well, actually, this is just the king because it's the crown estate, you know. The sovereign and wider royal family have two other sources of income. The Duchy of Lancaster, which has various agricultural and commercial interests, and the Duchy of Cornwall, with combined assets of more than 17 billion. This is stolen wealth. Thank you so much for gifting a sub, Riolan, to Milton Kitano. Really appreciate that. I appreciate all the subs. I really, really do. But I would ask you to consider that if you do want to support me in the stream, please do the sub off Twitch command in the chat rather than the just subbing on Twitch, because Twitch, we all know, extremely bad at listening to marginalized streamers' concerns, make it really hard for marginalized streamers to actually get anywhere on the platform, and just in general, I don't want to give Jeff Bezos any more money, even though Jeff Bezos technically isn't the CEO anymore. You know, so if you sub off Twitch, it means 100% of the money that you spend on the stream will come directly to me, your boy. I'll use it to spend on my bills, on my rent, you know, on food to eat and live and survive with, because this is my full-time job. So please consider doing that. I would only ask you to donate the same amount that you would with a normal sub in whatever country you're in, however much it costs in whatever currency you use. However, there are incentives for this. If we get to £450, no, you don't get emotes, I'm afraid. If we get to £450 before the middle of the month, which is like next week on Monday, then we will have unlocked double feature movie night. If we get to £450 at any point in the month, we do movie night. But if you want to watch 2 movies in one night, and this month it'll be 4 movies in one night, because we got last month's movie night double feature as well. So 4 movies. It's going to be a movie day. It's literally going to be a movie day. So keep that in mind. That's one of the incentives. And if we get to £900 before the end of the month, I'll be doing a DJ stream dressed as a gnome. So think about that. You've never seen that before, have you? If you want to see that, sub off Twitch. Anyway, that's the end of that. That's the end of that. I've done the thing. I've done the whatever you want to call it. Won't do it for another hour or so. Okay. Right. So, the £17 billion of the agricultural and commercial interests, yeah? £17 billion. It's stolen wealth. Yeah? Padishah Emperor says, the monarchy in England is good. It make people feel proud. An American love them. That's something you've said, isn't it? You've said that, haven't you? In the chat. Well done. For mastering keyboard. And a bit of computer stuff. You could say anything if you want, actually. That you've figured that out, haven't you, actually, by just typing nonsense in the chat. Haven't you? You've just gone, you know, because there's multiple things wrong with what you've said, right? You know? Want to check facts? Yes, actually, what you'll find, Padishah Emperor, is that I'm actually fact-checking your first statement this whole time, right? That I've been doing it this whole time, since you've been here and before. What we're actually doing is we're figuring out how the monarchy is not good. That's what we're finding out, right? So there you go. That's what we're doing right now. So we are already checking facts. If you'd pay attention, you know, keep doing this. Go ahead. They bring more money than wasting. Right. So what I've just explained to you, yeah, and what I've explained to everyone is that the sovereign and wider royal family have two sources of income, that amount to £17 billion in wealth, right? Agricultural and commercial interests, £17 billion that they are taking from people who could be earning that money on the ground, labourers, workers, right? So we've established that. That's stolen wealth. They don't deserve to have that. Secondly, the Crown Estate owns a portfolio of properties worth £15.6 billion as well, don't they? So, huge swathes of land where they're taking people's rent worth £15.6 billion. Yeah? So, adding that together, it's over 20 billion, over 30 billion pound. Meanwhile, everybody in this country is starving. So there you go. And rent it to the government. Well, they don't rent it all to the government, pal. They don't rent it all to the fucking government, pal. What, you think there's that many people in the government? You don't know anything, bro. You don't know anything. The 70 billion is not for them to spend. So what is it for then? What is it for? Huge tracts of land. That's right. Thank you for the follow, by the way, whoever that was. The conquest of inbreds. It is in lands they rent. What the fuck are you talking about? They don't rent shit from anyone. What are you fucking talking about, bro? Who are they renting from? Who? You're telling me the biggest landlord in the fucking country rents properties? Lives in properties and pays rent? To who? To who? To who? It's the most insane thing I've ever seen. To who? Who are they paying rent to? Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to pay myself some rent. In fact, that actually does happen. And think about how fucking absurd that is. That the king pays rent to himself. Just to make it seem like he's one of us. Hello, Aranok. How are you doing? I'm doing good, thank you. Everybody go follow Aranok. She's amazing. Yes, they do get paid rent. That's correct. We've established that already, haven't we? We established that before you said it. So there you go. Right. Everybody go follow Aranok. She's amazing. How you doing? It's good to see you. Right, so anyway. The conquest of inbreds. Until the 9th century, monarchy was quite the foreign idea to the people of these islands. We had experienced the rule of faraway emperors and followed the odd chieftain into battle, but none before had called themselves king. That was until the squabbling polities of what we now know as England and Scotland each fell, piece by piece, to the rule of one. In 1066, the problem of rule by one led to catastrophe, as people from distant lands claimed the right to rule England. It was the Normans that won the day and cemented their rule over the country with fire and blood, literally burning down and massacring whole villages until their rule was accepted. Native English rebels, with support from Scots, Welsh, and Irish, attempted to overthrow these new rulers, but to no avail. England was remade into what it is today by conquest, but the conqueror's blood lust was not sated. As they progressively lost their holdings in their native France, the Normans turned their attention towards the north and the west. Almost immediately, the Normans and their English collaborators in Parliament set their sights on subjugating Wales. The English kings appointed their successors as the Prince of Wales in a sick imperial tradition that continues to this day. Before King Charles was King Charles, he was called the Prince of Wales. That's what that's referring to. In a sick imperial tradition that continues to this day, attempts by the Welsh to choose their own leaders and rebel against imperial rule were suppressed, and eventually Wales was annexed into English Empire. They then moved on to Ireland, colonizing its eastern coast and slowly bringing more of its land and people under their thumb. Until this point, the Irish had not known the rule of a monarch, and they had little desire to get acquainted. Right? Padishah Emperor in the chat says, they bring to the UK 1.7 billion each year. Right, and guess what? You know that number that I said to you earlier, where they make 15.6 billion and 17 billion combined, right? That's a lot more than 1.7 billion, isn't it? Actually, and your initial argument, if you remember correctly, because I have it right here, they bring more money than wasting. That's what you said. That's what you said right there, isn't it? Look, I'm going to bring that up on screen just so everyone can see. So, there you go. So, you've got your maths wrong, haven't you? Yes, they bring more money. No, because look, you're fundamentally getting like very simple maths wrong here, yeah? You said they bring to the UK 1.7 billion each year, right? But what they actually take from the UK in terms of rents and agricultural commerce and stuff like that is about 30 billion. It's like a bit more than 30 billion in pounds. So you've got simple maths wrong there, I'm afraid. Google it. What am I Googling? A calculator? I don't need to Google a calculator. It's very, very easily, you can see that you've got your maths wrong and I've got it right. You can see, I don't have to Google anything. Not going to do that. I'm going to continue reading this pamphlet, which will educate you about how monarchies are bad. Google, does the royal family bring in more than they cost? I'm not going to do that, am I? Because I don't need to. So I've got all the information here for that argument. So I don't need any other sources. I've got lots of sources already. You've not actually got any sources. You've not actually come to the chat with any sources. Where you found they cost 30 billion each year. As I've said previously, and I'm not going to repeat anything more in this stream, yeah? 15.6 billion pounds. Portfolio properties worth 15.6 billion pounds, yeah? So that's all stuff that should belong to the people. And alongside that, 17 billion in stolen wealth from agricultural commerce. Worth. What do you mean worth? What argument are you trying to make here with worth? Or are you trying to say that like, oh, it doesn't matter because they're houses? Are you trying to say that the worth of the 15.6 billion pounds in asset that they have, right, in properties doesn't matter because it's houses? Is that what you're saying? They don't take each year. Right. Are you familiar with the idea of rent? I'm waiting. Do you know what rent is? Very easy. Yes or no. Very easy. Yes or no. Dead easy. You don't need to take this long to type this out. It's either yes or no. They rent, and so no, they don't rent, do they? They collect rent from these properties. What do you think these properties are all just sitting empty? Do you think that's what they're doing? They're going to collect rent. They're either going to collect ground rent, right? Or they'll be collecting either commercial rent or residential rent, right? That's literally it. The biggest tourist economy on the planet is France. They had a similar monarchy problem at one point. Yeah, exactly. So what they supposed to do with them? What do you mean? So what do you mean? So what they supposed to do with them? What kind of a question is that? What are they supposed to do with them? Well, in a country that has a housing crisis, they should house homeless people in them, I think. You know? Hey, Huskadoo, how's it going? Welcome in. And Porcelain Giant makes a good point as well. The cost of human life as well. You know? But we'll get into that. We'll get into that. Anyway, moving on. So, the monarchy's rule was shaky. None of their new subjects seemed to particularly like them, and they couldn't seem to settle on who was the rightful king. They needed something to unite people behind them, a guiding ideology to stabilize and totalize their rule. This was when they took over the church, assuming the status of the divine, becoming God kings. Anyone that opposed them was no longer just some peasant rebel, but a dangerous heathen, a sinner against the true Christian faith. Despite a minor constitutional hiccup during which one of our kings ended his reign shorter than when he started, the monarchy solidified its totalitarian rule over Wales, Ireland, Scotland, and England. With the close collaboration of Parliament, the nobility, and the clergy finally working together in harmony, they turned their attention to new lands to be exploited, new people to subjugate and murder. Britannia would rule the waves and make millions into slaves. The British Empire was founded on the monopolization of the slave trade. Under the supervision of the monarchy, it stole millions of people from their homes, shipped them across the ocean to plantations, and forced them to work themselves to death for the profits of a few rich men in the home islands. When some uppity colonists in America overthrew the monarchy, it was because they felt they weren't profiting enough from slavery. Too much of their stolen wealth was going back across the sea. Like clockwork, the monarchy again turned its attention to other evil outlets they could pursue. They occupied India, pillaged its resources, starved its people. They colonized Australia, destroying its environment, massacring its native populace. They then finally moved on to Africa, where they carved up the continent between them and their fellow monarchs, causing such horrendous devastation everywhere they went that the scars are still felt to this day. Of course, like all their evil endeavors, they were eventually overthrown by the people they had oppressed for so long. Despite their best attempts to hold on to power, waging war against any rebels and splitting up the countries to keep them divided and conquered, the sun finally set on the British Empire. Our King Charles III was there himself to witness its long overdue death. From the very first days of his life, Charles Windsor was told that by everyone that he would one day rule the world. He was the inheritor of a 1,000-year-old empire, the defender of a 2,000-year-old religion, the living embodiment of a nation. It was his right given by the heavens. He was just better than everyone else, above all but the very God that chose him. This cumbersome psychological weight became too much to bear as he grew, watching as his rightful colonies all over the world declared his family's rule to be over. He was supposed to be their future king, but they did not respect him as one. Nobody did. This wouldn't do. As is tradition, he began using his position in the royal family to get what he wanted, what he felt he deserved. Like his father before and his sons after him, Charles was given his own vanity commands in the armed forces. He got to dress fancy and strut about on big ships, telling people what to do without fear of battling anything more dangerous than a small Icelandic fishing boat, right? You'll find this a lot. Pro-monarchists will say things like, oh my God, he did his military service So, you know, he's just like one of us. He's just like one of us. But, again, they're not in any active fucking shit. They're definitely not in any sort of, like, active duty. They'll be on, like, a reserve boat in the middle of the fucking ocean somewhere. You know? Hey, Uni the Dino, how you doing? Welcome in. Mr. Fishy, how you doing? Welcome in. Good to see you. Long time no see. He then shifted his attention to more important matters than national defense, scalping the poor. Among his long string of royal titles, one of the most important to Charles was his role as the Duke of Cornwall, as the latest colonial overlord to Rob the Canorion. I don't know if that's how you pronounce that. His vast landholdings in the southwest brought him £612 million in cash. Of course, our glorious king never felt it right to declare this income. In fact, as the profits of this enterprise grew exponentially, he halved the amount of tax he paid on it, not wanting to bother the people with more money for public services. But he did make sure to order the Tory government to prevent his subjects from buying their own houses back from him. He was even gracious enough to start paying rent to himself for the many mansions he had built with these stolen funds. By the new millennium, Charles' empire was no longer in his grip. Luckily for him, the British government was determined to keep the imperial dream alive by invading and bombing half of Southwest Asia. Charles himself was happy to facilitate this, taking a new job as personal weapons salesman for his pals in the Saudi royal family, who made him a key part of their mass murder campaign in Yemen. Right, listen. We're not bothering with this idiot anymore. You know, we've had our fun with him. That's it. Chat, there's no need to try and, like, debate this fool. It's whatever. You know, he's come here thinking he's got so many points. He's not. He's gonna die on the hill of the monarchy is good, and that's fine. That's fine. Entirely up to you, my friend. You know, I would urge you and encourage you to remember that your class interest, absolutely your class interest, if you're just fannying about on Twitch getting mad that people are, like, angry with the monarchy, I would probably think that you've, like, you know, not got a lot of shit to do. You've not got a lot of friends. You've not got a lot of money. And that means that your class interests are not the same as the king or monarchists. And I would ask you to consider the next time that someone has an opinion, like maybe we shouldn't have a god emperor who is absolute and his will and rule is that of his own and that's it. He has the final say on everything. When someone expresses that sort of will, like, desire to not have someone like that in our society, maybe don't automatically become a police officer. Because they're not paying you. And you know what that means, don't you? It means that you're a plastic copper, which is even more embarrassing than a copper. So there you go. Anyway, let's crack on with this. By the new millennium, Charles' empire was largely no longer in his grip. Luckily for him, the British government was determined... Oh, I already read this bit. Personal weapon pals in Saudi Arabia, who made him a key part of their mass murder campaign in Yemen. Chat, right? Despite attempts by assassins and the coronavirus, Charles lived long enough to witness the moment he had always dreamed of, his mother's death. Right? Let's talk about that for a minute as well, chat. Right? Let's talk about that for a minute as well. How messed up is it that that's probably true? Extremely messed up that Charles was probably absolutely desperate to see his mother die. Like, what kind of a bizarre experience is it? Do you know what I mean? Like, what kind of a bizarre experience is it to, like, I don't fucking know, just be desperate for the day that your mum dies so that you can have all this wealth. You know? It's different if you have, like, you know, an abusive mother, of course. And I'm sorry if anyone has that experience in the chat. But anyway. Just an absolute fucked up scenario. The House of the Dragon. The expiration of old Liz shifted the center of gravity within the royal household. Before the Queen's corpse had even gone cold, Charles' younger brother Andrew quickly positioned himself to retake his position in the royal hierarchy. Anyone that reads his name should rightfully feel a pang of disgust, as the Grand Old Duke of York is widely known to have been a client of the child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. It was only with his mum's money and the threat of violence that he managed to see the charges against him dropped. But now, we're asked to forget about this, to put our rage at this vile excuse for a human aside. Andrew is now back on the public stage, using his own mother's coffin as a shield from criticism. When one brave soul in Edinburgh rose their voice to call him what he is, a sick old man, they were assaulted by this perverted prince's white knights and arrested for breaching the peace. Charles' reign began with a clear message that sexual predators have the protection of the crown. But that's just the worst of the bunch. What about Charles's less controversial relatives? Well, his kids sometimes seem even more dedicated to bringing about the collapse of the monarchy than even the most radical Republicans. Harry spat with his family as he very publicly comes to understand that all this stuff is a bit weird and horrible, has proved an even greater royal embarrassment than that time he wore a Nazi uniform out in public. It's also good to see that our future King William has made such a habit of gallivanting around the globe, keeping the colonial nightmare fresh in our minds. During his most recent holiday to the Caribbean, intended as a reminder to former British colonies of their place, he received a rude awakening as Belize, the Bahamas, and Jamaica all told him to get back in the ocean and start paddling. The two big R words he never wanted to hear, republic and reparations, were all heard during those days in the sun. And I have an image for you to look at. Regarding this, chat. There he is. The Prince of Wales, as he is now known. Being carried by his subjugated images. His subjugated subjects. That's what they call. That's what it would be called, right? Colonization in an image. The reign of the royal family of the UK, you know? Froggy Marno in the chat seems to be having an altercation with Milton Kitano about like whose police are the most endangered, because there's only knives in the UK, and that 128 US cops died while working when 4 UK cops died is all. I don't care how many cops died. I don't give a shit. If you're going to be a class traitor and, you know, join the police, I could give two fucks as to whether you lose your life or not. I'm not arsed. They don't protect me. They don't protect us. Construction workers die at a higher rate than cops. Yeah, exactly. Hello, Rat Acid, by the way. Welcome in. So, you know, stop fucking arguing about what kind of fucking coppers and how many of them die. It's completely fucking irrelevant. Anyway, an image of colonization right there. The picture painted of the Windsor family is not a pretty one, and that's even before you removed the layer of airbrushing that the Windsor name itself applied. Charles might call himself Windsor, but really, through his Nazi father, he's a member of the German house of Glücksburg. This makes him the fourth reigning monarch to belong to this house, alongside his cousins Harold of Norway, Margrethe of Denmark, and Philippe of Spain. The rise of Charles isn't just the problem for the subjects of the Commonwealth, it's part of a pandemic. What if we didn't have a king? Right now, it seems as though even the worst republic would be infinitely better than this United Kingdom, a state where millions can't afford to eat, while one man clothes himself in gold and jewels is not fit to exist. It's a failure of our own humanity that we have allowed this decrepit institution to persist for this long. The monarchy is the rot at the core of British society. Every person murdered by its own government, every person enslaved by rich industrialists, every person subjugated by a red-coated army has been so at the beck and call of whoever sat on the throne in London. It is the originator of everything wrong with this country, and only with its removal can we begin to rebuild. It would be naive to suggest that simply removing them from their official positions and replacing them with an elected president would cure Britain's ills. If the monarchy's most loyal institutions, from His Majesty's government to his armed forces, church and police, are not done away with along with them, then we will have a republic in name only. If their estates are not dissolved and their property not redistributed to those who they've exploited, then they will still be kings in all but name. And if the executive government centralizes too much power, as it has in countless republics throughout the world, we could end up with monarchic rule by a different name. Like his predecessors, Charles probably sees the writing on the wall, the threat to his strong and stable rule. Like his predecessors, he may make some paltry and ultimately meaningless reforms in order to make the monarchy seem more progressive, more modern. But it won't be enough. None of it will. To undo the damage of 1,000 years of devastation. Charles is known to all as the third, but he knows better than anyone that he could also be the last. The Queen is dead. Fuck the King. And that is that, chat. A very good little pamphlet that comes with ORGANISE magazine. I found it to be incredibly rousing, a pleasure to read. The prose was fantastic, and of course the information in there palpable, right? So there you go. What we're gonna do is we're gonna cement, we're gonna compound this segment with some awful televised debates. Isn't that fantastic, chat? Everybody loves that. Is there a digital copy of that pamphlet online somewhere? Yes. Here you go. You should definitely support ORGANISE magazine. They're very good. There you go. Hello, Pinklon, as well. Welcome in. There you go. So we're going to watch some televised debates. Everybody loves that, don't they? Everybody loves a televised debate where, you know, everybody is a disgusting piece of shit. Everyone makes bad arguments, and the people who make the good arguments are drowned out by people who make bad arguments. Oh yeah. It also has a spoken version at the top of that page. Yeah, it does. Awesome. Oh yeah. Right. Okay. Let's watch this. This is a segment from Good Morning Britain. It was last week. Good Morning Britain is the sort of flagship breakfast show in the UK. You know, I don't know what flagship really means. It's like the main one or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Okay, so here we go. They did a segment on Is the New Monarchy Out of Touch?
Slimmed down monarchy has been unveiled, revealing just 10 working members of the family.
Just 10?
Just 10, who will carry out duties on their behalf. But they're slightly older than at the time of the last coronation on average, by quite a lot. Is that age an issue?
Tory controlled? Don't know. Pass.
The majority
Google it,
in a
chat.
circle are above the age of 65. The oldest, the Duke of Kent, aged 87. In contrast, if we take a look back at the coronation picture in 1953, we have a much younger royal family with a queen aged just 25 and more than half the people pictured under the age of 35.
Is this new look monarchy at risk of actually being too old and out of touch with the public? Joining us now to discuss.
Oh my God, this is really how they're framing this? They're actually framing this as, well, is it because they're too old that they'll be out of touch? Well, here's the thing. The youngest members of the monarchy have fucked off because they know it's all fucked, right? That's why it's happened. That's literally why it's happened, right? If only our rulers were younger, they would be so in touch. No. They're in touch by not being our rulers, to be honest. You know? Were there any photos with the younger members and they're just showing off the one with the oldies or what? No, this is it. This is the royal family now. Yeah, this is it. Yeah, they're out of touch by being the monarchy. Exactly. Yeah. Absurd. What an absurd argument.
Lawyer and activist Dr. Shola Mos-Shogbamemu and royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams.
This guy's definitely a Tory. 100%. Royal commentators fucking love the royal family so much. It's like, it would have been this guy's dream when he was at primary school to be the royal commentator. I guarantee it. And he would have been a swot, a nerd, best boy, all this kind of stuff, you know?
Good morning to you both. Dr. Shola, I'll come to you in just a moment. But first, Richard, I just want to ask, who are all these people? There are some very famous faces in there and some less familiar ones.
Indeed. Well, you've got the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, you've got Princess Alexandra, you've also, yes, you mightn't necessarily...
By the way, who are these people? Who the fuck is Princess Alexandra? What the fuck are you on about? Who is that?
They play their part.
And they're they're sort of working, they're doing 9 to 5s, 5 days a week, are they?
Among the 3,000 or so engagements each year the royal family carries out, they are doing some of them.
And it's the same Princess Alexandra.
He didn't even answer the fucking bit. He didn't even answer the question. He said, oh, they're doing 9 to 5s, are they? And he said, well, there's lots of meetings. They're doing some of them. He literally just said, they're doing some of them. Bro, fuck off. Absolutely fuck off.
Alexandra, who was in the 1953 photo.
Quite right, but just a minute before you deal with age. Haven't you noticed something, talking about too old? How about remembering 3 years ago when the Queen, 96 when she died, 93, then the Queen addressed the nation on COVID and everyone was so moved. Remember, have you heard of the Duke of Edinburgh? Have you forgotten him? Because he was working, a working royal...
My gold Duke of Edinburgh's award.
95, you see, and the Queen Mother was working into her 90s. So the Windsor gene is, in fact, a pretty...
Yo, Froggy, don't put fucking clips of South Park in the chat, man. What the fuck is that? No, don't PM South Park clips to members of the chat. It's literally one of the most cringe fucking shows in the entire world. Are you saying to me that you've I don't even want to watch this. You're saying you're talking about bigger penises, smaller penises, and I'm looking at this clip and the first thing that I see is you know, that one fucking racist episode of South Park where, Japanese people are talking about how their penises are smaller and stuff. Do you know what I mean? What are you fucking doing, man? Don't be putting that in my fucking chat. I'll ban you.
Good one when you've got a royal family that, in fact, symbol...
I don't... Right, okay, fuck you, dude. Tell you what, come back tomorrow. Try again tomorrow, man. I ain't got time for your fucking shit. Just told you not to post fucking racist clips in my chat. And your shit is someone else was talking about penis size. Fuck you, you fucking prick. Can you fucking hear me? Stupid pillock.
...symbolizes national unity and is above party politics.
No, you... Listen... It's whatever, man. The guy said, I've got a South Park clip, and you were like, oh, I'll have a look at that. Because as far as you're aware, it's an innocuous whatever. Do you know what I mean? But, I know exactly what fucking clip it is. I know exactly what fucking clip. I know the fucking episode. I used to watch that shit. I'm 33. Do you know what I mean? Fucking hell, man. Fucking knobhead.
To Shola, these are lots of wonderful older people who are just continuing. They've got enormous stamina. Their duty continues into their 90s.
Oh, how absolutely wonderful. What 9 to 5 jobs I'm sure we would all wish for. Listen, slimming down the monarchy as a sign of modernity is an insult to our intelligence, okay? Not only is this pale, stale, and predominantly male, right? It sends a powerful message of maintaining the hierarchical divide of class, race, wealth, and privilege. The royal family is the face of the British monarchy, an institution that symbolizes the entrenched structural inequalities that has placed British subjects in a chokehold of, peasant mentality and servitude. In fact, King Charles had the audacity to invite us, members of the public, to swear an allegiance to him when he's the one that should have been giving an oath of service to us. Look, Queen...
He did.
Yeah.
Hey, Sip for Rusk. Yeah, I'm not taking recommendations on content, so...
He did during the ceremony. He said he
Yeah,
came
no,
to serve, not to be served.
No, but the point here...
Didn't
is
you
that-
do it?
Hell to the freak, no. The point here is that not only are they out of touch, outdated, the point here is that I want people to understand that the days and the era of deference and reverence, which is the era of Queen Elizabeth, are totally behind us. And Queen Elizabeth could avoid scrutiny, transparency, accountability because of the deference that people held for her. Her successors are not going to benefit from the same. And, you know, you're talking about all of these people. Princess Alexandra, all of these people that apparently...
There's the Duke
they
and
work
Duchess of
night...
Edinburgh,
No, let me
Prince and
finish.
Princess of
because-
Shut up! Get fucking wrecked! Get wrecked, you absolute bod.
I was
but
listening
You
to your
swat.
joy and your excitement, and here I was trying to just
Well,
feel
joy
your
and
passion.
excitement, not my
I was
joy and
feeling
excitement.
jack off.
Join the excitement. Join us. Join us, Shola. Join the dark side. Join the dark side.
2 million
listen
people
to
were on
me,
the streets
Richard,
of
you might
London.
listen to
2
my-
million.
Bro, like, I love it when people say there's 2 million people who are on the streets of London, right? Do you know how big London is? What's a SWAT as a pejorative? No, it's SWOT. It's just like a nerd, a geek, whatever. You know, like the guy is talking about, yeah, oh, there's 2 million people on the streets of London. Like the coronation didn't happen in the entirety of London. Yeah, it's quite normal for there to be like 2 million people on the streets of London, like every time, right? Like every time of the day, every time of the week. Do you know what I mean? It's quite normal. It's a very fucking busy city. If you've ever been to London, you'll know what I'm on about, right? There's not necessarily 2 million people at the fucking coronation, right? And even if there were 2 million people at the coronation, if you look, actually, Fred and Emily, if you know Fremily, who are good friends of the stream, good friends of mine in real life, they did a great video on the weirdos in the line. Fremily Monarchy, I think I'll get it from searching this. I'm gonna have to search on YouTube, but yeah, they did a really good video of like reacting to like all the odd peeps in the queue for the monarchy, for the coronation celebration. And what you've got to remember, yeah, is that there'll be a lot of conservatives, right? 2 million people is like, what? I don't know, 5% of the population or something like that, maybe less. I don't know. We got like 70 million people in the UK. I don't know what that would be, like 2 million people, like, you know, maybe less than 5%, maybe like 3% of the country's population. And again, the majority of those will just like be in London in general. There'll be people who live in London, live and work in London. Do you know what I mean? This motherfucker's acting like people don't work over bank holidays and coronation days and shit. And another thing, one thing you've got to know about the British, yeah, is any excuse for a piss up. It doesn't matter what it is, yeah? It doesn't matter what it is. If it's the coronation, if the Queen died, anything like that. The same amount of people were out when the Queen fucking died. People were out getting pissed. They were like, oh, Queen's dead, let's get shedded. But that's nothing to do with support of the monarchy or anything like that. That's just like Britain's alcohol disease problem, literally. Britain's fucking alcoholism problem. You know what I mean? Brought on by like everything that happens in the fucking in the country, you know? Awful working hours, terrible working conditions, no benefits, no fucking, you know, 0 hours contracts, no actual possibility to have any kind of a dream in your life. I could go on about that, but I won't. Hi, Dice Goblin as well. Welcome to the stream. Zach says, I hear it's too cloudy and cold to work. It is. It's true. It's too cloudy, it's too cold. People can't work. So they just take all the roads in and no one goes outside. You know? Hey, Kane20C. Yeah, people might, you know, people will take any excuse to drink. You know? They will. I did when I was fucking, you know, when I was there. According to Google, London has a population of almost 9 million, so it seems like a lot more people stayed home. Well, that too, right? That 2 million people will just be like the people who were out that fucking weekend, like just fucking around, getting pissed or whatever. Do you know what I mean? That will have been it. And also there might have been some people coming in from other parts of the country. I can't imagine who though, because how much were coronation tickets? King's coronation tickets. So 5,000 people received free coronation tickets. It doesn't tell me how much they are. How much are King's coronation tickets? It's not telling me. They can't be fucking cheap, chat. Well, we know that it cost $125 million to host. I can't find it. Anyway, tax dollars pay for the coronation. They still charge tickets for the damn thing. Oh, they definitely do. They definitely do. 100 fucking %. You had no idea you had to buy tickets? They're not just going to fucking let you in, yo. They're not just going to fucking let you in. I can't find how much they cost. Because obviously it's done now. You know what I mean? It's finished. Anyway, whatever. Guessing those 5K are already filthy rich already. They probably will be, yeah. They probably will be.
Anyway, let's carry on with this.
You might learn something. The bottom line here is that no member of the royal family inspires, is a source of inspiration or aspiration for anybody.
The Prince and
they
Princess
don't
of Wales.
resonate. Let me finish. Hold on.
No.
If you don't interrupt me, I'll make my point.
The world's most glamorous couple, the Prince and Princess of Wales.
Okay, let me tell you this right now. I don't need glamour. I am glamour all by myself. I don't need anybody else to be glamorous.
She's great. I love her.
And Catherine, they are the world's most glamorous couple. It's a fact.
Nothing about the royal family.
But the royal family, if you talk about the royal family.
Jesus Christ, what is this, man? It's just a white guy shouting over a black woman. It's the most unenjoyable content that you could ever think of. And you know, the thing is, man, is that like on TV programs like this, they know that people can only take so much of this. So they make it like 4 minutes maximum. 4 minutes maximum. And like the whole time, this lady's trying to make a point, but this guy's just like shouting and shouting and shouting over it. It's just absurd, man. People need to stop doing these fucking debates. It's so dumb. So anyway, we've got firm djmuel stream favorite. Yeah. GB News. Fantastic. I can't wait to see what the guys on GB News say about the monarchy. I can't wait. I guarantee not one of these people will be a Republican. Not in a million years. If they are, they'll still be in the favor of like an unelected head of state. You know? Hello, Queen Pib. Everybody, please go follow Queen Patricia Inga Bogart. There's a link to her channel in the chat. And Erica as well. How you doing? You have to buy tickets to a coronation the taxpayers are already paying for. Yeah, 100%. It's fucked. If they're going to do debates, have actual formal debates. Yeah. But they aren't going to do that because what they saw is the numbers on Twitch debates, didn't they? And TikTok debates. Because those are very popular now, aren't they? TikTok debates, that's all good. When you go on TikTok Live, that's all you fucking see, isn't it? Trans people should be allowed to exist. Debate number 5,012,000. Land back is bad, actually. White people aren't inherently evil. And all this stuff. Love that. So, you know, the big corporations have seen all that and they've gone, that's what people like, isn't it? They like insane debates where people's human rights are just, you know, being argued against. So we'll do that. But GB News, being the British equivalent of Fox News, thankfully not as popular yet, are also doing the monarchy debate. So let's take a look at what's going on GB News. But now it's time for
British debate this out, and I'm asking, do you believe the monarchy is the way forward? King Charles has been crowned alongside Queen Camilla in a historic ceremony and a momentous display of pomp and pageantry. Thousands gathered in Westminster Abbey and millions flocked to the streets, all to witness this wonderful moment. But has the coronation left a good first impression for King Charles in the eyes of the public, with Prince Harry showing up to see his father receive the crown? And are things looking up for the royal family? So, for the Great British debate this hour, I'm asking, do you believe that the monarchy is the way forward? So joining me to discuss that, Peter Edwards, former...
She sounds so sick. I don't think I've heard this lady speak that much before, but, like, she sounds really sick. Sounds like she's had coronavirus 18 times. It's just fucking destroyed her throat. No vaccinations for me, please. No vaccinations for me. They're going to put a mind control chip in it.
Labour list. Martin Daubney, GB News...
I don't need to speak or breathe. I'm fine with that.
Party MEP. Reem Ibrahim, the communications officer at the Institute of...
Whoa. Who've we got? Former editor of the Labour list, Martin Dawley.
News contributor and former Brexit Party MEP. Reem Ibrahim.
Former Brexit Party MEP.
The communications officer at the Institute of Economic Affairs. And Dennis McShane, former Labour MP. Right, so I'm going to...
Former Labour MP. So they got one former Labour MP in this debate who is possibly going to be centrist left. The whole concept and existence of a monarchy in 2023 is wild to me. Do they even do anything worthwhile? They're not making political decisions because you have a prime minister for that, right? Well, the prime minister, it could be argued that he's not making political decisions. Unfortunately, it's not true, Erica. The king signs off on every single law that has gone through Parliament. So when a law gets introduced to Parliament, it appears in something called a white paper form. That gets passed between all the MPs. The MPs say, yeah, I'm happy with that, or no, I'm not happy with that. Try and debate it, try and stop it, get changes and amendments to it. Then when everybody's happy with it, then they vote on it. If the vote goes through, then it goes to the House of Lords. When it goes to the House of Lords then have to make amendments to it. And again, the House of Lords is exactly what it implies. Unelected people, some people who've simply done the, buying a title, essentially. Like, they've just bought the fucking title. And then when the House of Lords made their amendments to it, surprisingly, the House of Lords sometimes make quite progressive amendments to these horrific fascist laws that the Tories are desperate to put through. But anyway, then when it's done, the final stage of it all, it has to be approved by the king. The king has the chance to veto it, to stop it from happening. But as the Dance of Dionysus says in the chat, welcome to the stream, if he refuses to sign, the royal family is done. Yeah, because then, the royal family section of the ruling class will be at odds with the political section of the ruling class, and the political ruling class, the parliament. They'll just make the monarchy shit. They'll just be like, right, well, we're not doing that anymore, and that'll be that. The monarchy is also written into the governments of various former and present colonies all around the world. Yeah, absolutely. There's loads of different, and not even just in terms of present colonies, former colony. There will be former colonies who've had a fucking revolution and all that shit, but then because of that, they'll have a new government put in by the what's it called now? You know what it is, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, or in some cases the CIA, and any kind of progressive ideas will be destroyed, and previous laws that were in place during monarchist rule will literally be in present in those governments, like Prince says. So even if it is present colonies or And it's so bad. We were talking about that. What we were talking about in this pamphlet earlier about so there's a line that makes a lot of sense, right? And that is in, so if we have a look at this, Scars of Witch, Africa. Yeah, so they finally moved on to Africa, where they carved up the continent between them and their fellow monarchs, causing such horrendous devastation everywhere they went. The scars are still felt to this day. And what were we looking at the stream? Maybe not last week, but the week before. But the anti-LGBTQIA plus laws in Uganda that are a leftover from colonialist missionary rule, right? So those are the scars that this pamphlet is talking about. That kind of stuff, where they literally want to make it punishable by death to be queer, right? That's not a indigenous Ugandan ideal. That's a colonialist, monarchist, evangelical idea that has been enforced upon them by colonialism, right? So it's kind of like an illusion of power. They technically have that power, but if they don't do what everyone else wants, then they're done for. Yeah, I mean, but like at the end of the day, it's like the everyone else is the government, and that's it. There are lots of like people in the UK that would like very much prefer them to, you know, sign against these laws, like veto these laws, like you know, a lot of people. You get a lot of people arguing that King Charles is like a whatever you call it, like he's an environmentalist, he wants to stop climate change and all that stuff. But it's like he signed off the law that was put into place literally 2 weeks ago to be able to arrest peaceful protesters. And most of the peaceful protesters who are in prison serving sentences for peaceful protest, mind you, are environmentalist protesters. So you tell me how King Charles III is an environmentalist, actually. Anyway, so that's that. Let's crack on.
Start with you, Dennis McShane. What do you think? Is the monarchy the way forward?
It's going to be there, but everybody's going to wake up on Tuesday and you have to wait 14 hours for an ambulance. You have to wait forever to get potholes filled in. You have to wait ever to see taxes reduced. All the problems of the country are back with a bang. We've had a lovely 3-day escape. We've all enjoyed it. I've been daft not to and rain on anybody's parade. I've got a few points. Look at this. Now, this is from the Sunday Mirror, but all the other papers are carrying it. It's a balcony show.
Hey, Just Johnny.
If you look at it, it's like a sort of nice event in Wiltshire with grandparents and little children. They're all white, they're all rich, they're not connected.
So what's your point?
They don't represent the rest of the country. They don't represent GB News, the Cabinet, any high street in Britain.
So what's your point now? What is your point?
My point is, I think the royal family, if it's going to survive, has to change.
Yeah, but okay, so in your family, you're white, your mum and dad are white. I mean, if you had a bit string of people from your family, they'd probably all be the same colour as well. I don't really think that's...
Oh my God, why did you have to fucking focus on that, man? Like, anyone with any kind of, like, you know, tiny understanding of the ruling class and, you know, the type of people who are in positions of power know that majoritively speaking, it's cis heteronormative white men, and that's the end of it, right? But of course, this GB News presenter is going, what's that got to do with it? What's being white got to do with it? And luckily for her, this is an old white man. So his knowledge of colonial power and slavery and all that stuff might be lacking, actually. You know, so let's see what argument he comes back with.
My children are mixed race. We don't need to go into
No, but I'm just saying that. No, but if you were to look at
Wait, did he just says his kids are biracial? I know mixed race is like not the right term to use, but like so he's using that term for biracial, but he has actually got biracial kids, which is pretty funny.
Well, all my children are mixed race. We don't need to go into...
All of his children are biracial, so she's wrong anyway. She's wrong, dude.
But I'm just saying that. No, but if you were to look at the fact that your white people went back to the people who made you the colour you are and everything, they'd probably be the same colour. I don't think that's relevant. Martin Daubney.
Yeah.
I don't think that's relevant. Now we're moving on. Not going to get hit. Give him a chance to finish that fucking point. Look at his face. He's so mad. Who's this? Martin Daubney?
Well, the rain did its best to spoil yesterday, but actually the real shower are the abolitionists, the Republicans, the socialists, the not my kingers, who tried their very best to ruin a magnificent day. Isn't it funny how they sort of have a pop at the British royal family for being white, but they never say the same thing about the Nigerian royal family, which is entirely black?
Oh man, I fucking love these guys. This is like the this is like Joker hour. Oh my god. Like, you know, let's Google the Nigerian royal family. Should we do that? Nigerian royal family. So we've got reigning monarch of the Newi Kingdom in Anambra State, Igwe Kenneth Orizo III. He's got consorts, legitimate descendants, etc., etc., etc. Like, do they still like have absolute rule? Do they rule in the same way that you know, that Charles does? I don't particularly remember the Nigerian Empire. I don't remember the Empire of Nigeria that did loads of colonialism and murdered loads of indigenous people. You know? I mean, I would still argue against the royal family of Nigeria regardless, because still any kind of royal family is bad. Yeah? But, you know, why would you mention that the entire Nigerian royal family is black when they are, you know, in Africa for a start? Secondly, you know, there is no such thing as black supremacist colonialism, is there? It just doesn't exist. You know, yeah, how many genocides did the Nigerian Empire do? You know, that's a question, isn't it? But very funny. I'm very glad he said it because it gave me a laugh. Hey DJ, how you doing?
Has been the Japanese royal family, which is, guess what, entirely Japanese. It just happened to be from that demographic historically. This absurd attack on the family for being white, I think, shows the true colours of those who hate the royal family. And actually, rather than dwelling on the negatives, I think we should take solace from that and take strength from the fact that they're trying to divide us, but they didn't. It failed. It was a wonderful day.
Wait, how are they trying to divide? Oh, he's talking about they're trying to divide the good black people from the white people of England. You know, that's what they're trying to divide us. That's what's happening. You know?
And in a time where we're not united by politics, we're not united by very much at all, I think the royal family serves a magnificent, totemic, marvellous, joyous thing, and we should unite around it.
So, like, that is like the monarchy fascist idea of all time, right? That the monarchy is centrist. The monarchy, famously, a centrist organization, famously an institution that sees both sides of the argument. They see the side that's like, we should genocide everybody of a certain, you know, identity, various identities, but also the side that should never happen, and that everybody should be fed, clothed, and housed, and have access to healthcare, and, you know, not suffer discrimination based on their identity. So they see both sides of it, famously. You know, they've definitely always seen the one side, the latter that I just described. I'm being sarcastic, by the way, in case anyone can't tell.
I don't know why race is being brought up in its entirety anyway. I think that when we're thinking about trying to argue for the monarchy and argue for these institutions...
Where is she calling from? That is not... Is that... Hang on a minute. GB News can't be still this bad at fucking... No, that's not Dennis McShane. That's not who this is. GB News are still so fucking bad at production that it's literally like, yeah, this is Dennis McShane. Let's see how long it takes them to change this. Yeah, this just in. Our reporter's in the stairwell. Yeah, they're inside the high school gym. You know?
Should be arguing based on economic...
Reem Ibrahim, there you go. Communications officer, the Institute of Economic Affairs. Should we have a look at what the Institute of Economic Affairs is, chat? 'Cause I've never heard of that. The Institute of Economic Affairs. Fraud focus. Is it the serious fraud office or is it for purpose? Wait, what? About us. Who are we? The IEA is an educational charity and the UK's original free market think tank. So it's a right-wing neoliberal think tank. Right, thank you. Okay. I had a feeling it was something like that. Please go ahead, Reem Ibrahim, the communications officer from the Institute of Economic Affairs, giving a statement from the Institute of Economic Affairs, presumably in the big hall where they decide who should die and live in the coming ecological collapse.
Constitutional grounds. I mean, we saw yesterday how wonderful the coronation really was. We saw 90 heads of state, I think it was more than 90 heads of state attend the coronation, which is huge for British soft power. Also, the
Are you kidding me? It's huge for British soft power. What are you fucking talking about, bro? What do you mean soft power? This is hard power. Hey, Alejandro, how you doing? This is literally hard power. A monarchy is literally hard power. What you want about soft power?
Constitutional grounds. I mean, we're thinking about the fantastic nature that this gives British democracy.
We don't have a constitution. What is she on about? On constitutional grounds? We don't have a constitution.
And then also the economics. I mean, the crown
is she on about the Magna Carta?
The amount of money that gives the Treasury, but also just thinking about the amount of tourism that it brings in. How many people came to London and came to those local shops and spent their money in order to whilst they were attending the coronation. So I think what we've really got to emphasise here is the value that the monarchy brings us. Not just.
No, I'm pretty sure she said soft power. Soft power is power we don't talk about in polite company. Yeah, stolen wealth, that's soft power. Yeah, all those genocides. So, take a look here. $4 million tourists visit London every year, right? 4 million. And spend £409 million. Yeah? Now, what you've got to remember is that what's important to these tourists is that they see all the castles and the palaces and stuff like that. Yeah? And in terms of when you go and see like a palace, yeah? You go and see a palace, you know, like have a look at it. You are not going to see the king, right? That's not going to happen. You will never touch him. You will never touch him. You will never see. The only chance you'll have a chance of like, you know, shaking the king's hand is if you do like an exceptional amount of charity work for a big NGO that the king supports. So really, you know, you've wasted like your entire life doing all this charity work for like a charity that's probably completely ineffective at what it does, and the king has gone, oh yes, very good, nice to meet you, yep, very good, and that's it. That's it. You'll never be his mate. You'll never go for a pint with him. You'll never go for a cup of tea with him. Yeah? He won't even message you on Grindr saying, hey, what you up to? That will never happen. Right? So here's the thing. You will go and see the palaces, and you'll spend the money in the city, whether there's a monarchy there or not. Studio Fortress in the chat, first time chatter. I don't think people doing charity work are wasting their lives. Yes, because that's what I said, isn't it? I said, and you can go back and listen to it again. I said, everyone who does charity work is bad. And they will never, and they don't do anything, and they're all pedophiles. That's what I said, isn't it? I said they all deserve to die. You know, should have no rights. And I hate everyone who does charity works. I said that, didn't I? Yeah, I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry that I said those things that you made up. Right. So, as we've established, if you have any kind of a like, you know, I don't know, a meeting with the king, it's going to be meaningless. It's going to be meaningless to you. It's going to be meaningless to him. And we would still bring in those tourists if the king was in the palaces or not, as proved by various countries all around the world that used to have monarchs and now they don't. And they still get tourists. Paris, for example, as someone said already in the chat. Right?
Not just on Coronation Day, but every day.
Peter Edwards.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very baffled by some of what I heard. The royal family have never been perfect and never will be. By definition, they're from the elite, but that doesn't have to mean they're out of touch. They go to expensive schools, they live in palaces, they live a life that's very different to all of that. One can rail against that or accept it for what it is. Personally, I'm a great supporter of the royal family, and I accept it for what it is. I'd also say the royal family, just like any family, they have their ups and downs,
just guys dressed like fucking Nazis, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, look at this guy.
Accept it for what it is. I'd also say the royal family, just...
There's just a guy like here, like... fucking hell, man. It's just fucking so fucked up, this whole thing.
Like any family.
Here he is, Prince Andrew. Look at him here, looking like he's fucking should do.
They have their ups and downs, disagreements, sometimes self-inflicted. The one difference is they're having all the disagreements, or a lot of them in public, which I don't think is wise.
There he is, chat.
But my other point,
the big royal pedo. Love that. It's great, isn't it, that he can just get away with that, you know? You know when people say to you, chat, if you're a prison abolitionist like me, and you talk about how prison is barbaric, it doesn't actually prevent any crime, it's horrific, and all that kind of stuff, yeah? And, you know, you're talking with someone and someone says, I don't know about prison abolition, because what about all the pedos? What are we going to do with all the pedos? Right? You can say to them, can't you? You can say, he's not in prison, is he? They've not got him or Trump yet. And all the other people all over the world on Jeffrey Epstein's flight log, none of them are in prison, are they, actually? So, actually, prison doesn't stop pedos, does it? In fact, some of the worst pedos are still out there walking amongst us. In their positions of power, fully able to still abuse them at any point. So that's a nice little talking point that you can have there, isn't it? Can't you?
I love the fact the royal family, although they're political, they're above party politics. I think that's really important. And if we didn't have
they're above
family,
party politics. Said it again. They said it again. The royal family centrists, they're above party politics. Of course they are. They're above all politics. You fucking idiot.
Would that have been President Boris Johnson or President Liz Truss or even President Tony Blair? Now, while one of those leaders I support and two others I don't, I wouldn't want to see a party political person as head of state.
And I'll let Dennis.
Right. That's a good point. That's a really, really good point. I, too, would not like to see a political party representative leader as the head of state. I would actually prefer it if we all had democratic say in all the laws that happen all over the country, and no one has more of a right to vote on things than we do. I think that's actually a perfect political system, just like Cuba, and we should have something like that instead. Very good point. This guy here, who kind of looks like a stretched version of Randall from Recess. You know?
Shane, come back in again, because Dennis. So, do you think the monarchy is the way forward? Then, because I wasn't sure what you were alluding to.
I've never.
It's so funny. Like they like, you can see once the veil has been pulled back, right? Once the veil has been pulled back on, like, you know, media and how these things are framed and stuff like that, you can just see it for what it is so easily, can't you? It's literally like, you know, my man's out here. He's the only person who remotely has even said, like, maybe we need to change something about the monarchy, like slight bit of reform maybe. You can't reform the monarchy. That's why they've chosen him as the only sort of, like, quote-unquote anti-monarchy voice on this panel. And what they've done is they've completely ridiculed him. Like, look at how all the other hosts are staring into the camera smugly. Look at this. Look at them all. Literally. They're all literally, and they will have been told, right, whenever he talks, smugly look at the camera like you've just done a big poo and no one knows about it. That's what they've said to him. That's what they've said to all these other guys. And the host is being like, I don't actually know what you were saying. You didn't actually say anything. You're just racist because white's a race. You know?
The problems with monarchies, if you look at the best governed and the fairest and most prosperous and most sensibly run countries in Europe, I would hold up the Netherlands, I'd hold up Denmark, Norway, Sweden. All of them, what do they have in common? They are monarchies. I think our monarchy is a bit different. Yes, I do regret the fact that we've got a huge feud of some sort. I agree with Peter, it's all a shame it's in the public between the two heirs, I mean, William and Harry, if you like.
He's not really an heir, is he?
Work.
He's not really
well, I mean, OK.
Not anymore.
He's a spare, as he called himself.
He's not an heir, he's a spare.
And he's got no hair. That's going to continue, but it doesn't solve... I want, if you like, Peter, a head of state that helps find solutions for the incredible difficulties Britain's facing.
So you're happy with that?
The convening power, as it used to be called, that King Charles had?
Are you happy with King Charles being slightly political? It sounds like you're saying that. Reem, I'm going to end it with you because you're...
What the fuck, man? They're like saying like, oh, you're saying that Prince Charles should be political. I disagree. That sounds terrible. He should be above party politics like he is. Right? Fuck me, man. This is just so absurd.
Young person, we're all old. Yeah.
You're not old, Anna.
Thank you very much. Very sensible, very, very wisely said, Dennis. Reem, listen, you're young. Do you think that this is a good thing for a lot of young people? Because if you looked at the polling, it suggested that young people were less likely to favour the concept.
This is going to be funny, chat. What's she going to say? She's going to say, that's all nonsense. Loads of young people. I know every young people in the country, and they all love King Charles. They love him. They want to kiss him. They watch him on TikTok. They're monarchy core TikTok followers. So it's all lies. It's all lies from the leftist liberal elite.
The notion of monarchy.
Yeah, and I think that also just thinking about the way that the coronation has impacted that. I mean, a lot of people just sort of said, a lot of young people that I spoke to said they didn't really care about the coronation. It just wasn't really relevant to their lives. And actually, they would rather taxpayer money be spent somewhere else. I think that the reason why we need to win these arguments is because we need to explain to people and actually educate them so that they know actually that the royal family makes us more money than they take in taxpayer money.
And you know, isn't it funny that this kind of nonsense worked on that guy that was in the chat before who couldn't understand basic maths? Isn't it funny? Now listen, I've got dyscalculia, so I'm allowed to say this. But no, obviously I'm not. If you have a hard time with maths, that's fine. That's completely understandable. However, if you are easily taken advantage of with arguments such as the royal family brings in more money than they cost us, right? If you're susceptible to arguments like that, and then when presented with actual maths that's quite simple, yeah, which says that they earn, you know, billions of pounds every year, and you know, 17 billion pound every year at a minimum probably, and you say, oh well, they bring in 2.1 billion pound every year. It's like, well, that's vastly easily understood maths, isn't it? You failed quite... 17 is a higher number than 2. Doesn't matter how many zeros are after it. It's not that complicated, right? So, anyway, that's the end of that. And isn't it funny how that kind of, like, media brainwashing has worked so well that even in the presence of literal easy maths, sort of like grade 2 maths, yeah, that guy was just not having it. He was like, no, what are you on about? No, those are assets, actually. Those are assets. And it's like, no, we're talking about the income when, you know, they're getting from all these agricultural and commercial interests. And there's loads more out there that we haven't mentioned. Do you know what I mean?
Which is why, just from an economic perspective, they're actually worth it. But also, I think it's about young people nowadays not really valuing tradition and not valuing the wonderful institutions that this country really...
There it is. It's dog whistle right there. Not valuing tradition. There's too many young people who don't value tradition. They're having polyamorous relationships. They're all queer. They're all transgender. They're all migrants. That's not tradition, is it, in Britain?
has. So I think that we've got to be strong in arguing for those arguments rather than debating about race or other silly arguments.
Love it.
But you debate about race all the time. Like, on GB News, they talk about fucking race all the time. They talk about fucking, like, you know, look at this prick with his, like, shut the fuck up. I fucking hate these. I hate these pricks so much. So fucking fash.
That's Reem Ibrahim. She is a communications officer with the Institute of Economic Affairs. Also, Dennis McShane, former Labour MP. We've got Martin Dalby, GB News contributor and former Brexit Party MEP, and Peter Edwards, former editor of the Labour List. Fabulous. Those are their thoughts. What are yours? Email.
We got this vastly biased panel to do a little debate on the monarchy. Anyway, there's another monarchy debate. This was from 5 days ago, so this was before whatchamacallit, the coronation, right? This is like 5 days ago. Again, from Good Morning Britain. I think this is like a different presenter, though.
So
not sure.
About the future.
Oh, yeah, it's him. It's him. What's his fucking name? His name's like Bradley Cum or something. And she's Kate Hathaway? Is it Kate Hathaway?
And if it's still relevant, the Commonwealth Saturday's coronation will have a big part to play in shaping the monarchy moving forward.
Well, joining us to discuss is Andrew Morton, and former Deputy Private Secretary to King Charles and Queen Consort.
So who have they got? Who have they got?
Is Andrew Morton, and former Deputy Private Secretary to King.
So who is... Wait a minute. Who is Andrew Morton? They didn't even say who he is.
Charles and Queen Consort Camilla. Scott Ferguson-Wood, who's currently High Commissioner to Barbados, which became a...
You are kidding me, dude. High Commissioner to Barbados.
Republic in 2021. Good.
Why is a British guy who is the consul of, you know, the King and the Queen, why is he the commissioner? Why is it still necessary for there to be a High Commissioner of Barbados when it's a republic? Jesus fucking Christ, man. I fucking hate this shit so much.
To see both of you this morning. You presumably, Scott, are still in touch with Charles. How is he feeling? How is he doing? You know, because this is a big one, isn't it?
I thought this was about the future of the monarchy. They're like, how is he doing? What's he up to? What's he thinking?
On any scale.
Well, of course, it's a huge moment. It's a huge moment for him and for the institution. But he's been doing his job for a very long time. He was Prince of Wales for 50 years. He knew this moment was coming. And it's something that he's thought about all his life. So I'm sure he's ready for it.
Andrew,
has he had his morning poo? Has he had his bowel movements? Has he had his Weetabix?
Prince of Wales for 50 years. He's been waiting for a very long time.
Of course, Prince. That's of course what it is.
We've seen him be king, albeit before the coronation this weekend. He's already taken the reins and he's already sort of started to sort of show what sort of king he's going to be like. What have you made of what we've seen so far?
What do they mean by that? He's already shown what kind of king he's going to be like. Yeah, he's going to like shy away from the public eye, sign off on all the horrific laws that are going to be put into place by the fascist government. And that's it. That's the end of it, really, isn't it?
Well, I think you're seeing a more relaxed monarch than, say, with the Queen. I mean, you know, on day one.
What are you fucking talking about, dude? What are you fucking on about? The more relaxed monarch? You can't have a more relaxed monarch than Queen Liz. She took like 3 months off when she was feeling a bit rough. What the fuck are you on about?
He was being kissed by ladies in the crowd.
Right.
So
He went straight over, didn't he, as soon as he arrived back at Buckingham Palace?
He did, and
why have they blurred his face out? What's happening? I don't understand. On one day, he was being kissed by ladies in the crowd. What does that mean? What does that? Does anyone know what that's referring to, chat? That sounds a bit dodgy. Hey, Mr. Dank, how's it going? Ford Coy, I don't know if I'm saying your name right. King Charles is actually based in Republic Pill. Oh, no, wait, he's very much more of the same bullshit. Yeah, literally. Literally.
He went straight over, didn't he, as soon as he arrived back at Buckingham Palace?
He did, and the lady standing next to the one who kissed him was my daughter. So
Really?
So the House of Morton met the House of Windsor. And
how old was your daughter?
But he didn't, though. Did he? He didn't actually meet the House of Morton. Right? That didn't happen. It was like literally like 2 seconds. No one fucking cares. They don't exist to him. That's it. It's the end.
She's 37.
So it's interesting, isn't it? Because intriguingly, when you talk about popularity of the royals, we're told that, and maybe it's the younger generation below that as well, certainly aren't as interested in having a monarchy.
He was hoping, yeah? This guy was hoping that he was going to say, oh, she's 21. She's got like a septum piercing and all that stuff. You know what I mean? But they were like, yeah, she's 37. And listen, right, just because someone is like at the coronation doesn't necessarily mean that they're pro-monarchy. Again, it could just be an excuse for a piss-up. You might have been forced to go by your family. Who fucking knows? You know? But he was hoping that he was going to say, oh, yeah, my daughter's like 21. She posts on Tumblr. She's got a mullet. Do you know what I mean? But no, she's fucking 37, man. She's probably like, who fucking knows?
As
some
of
folks
the older
Tory
generation. But what I remember seeing from those pictures, and what I'm intrigued to see on the weekend, is just the age range of people who will be in the crowd to enjoy the experience and to celebrate the coronation.
I think that's a very good point. I mean, they're looking for diversity. They're looking for inclusivity. I mean, when the Queen was crowned in 1953, it was a bunch of white aristocrats, and predominantly men. Very few women took part. Whereas with this one, you've got all faiths. The procession of all faiths will enter the Abbey first. There'll be Hindus, Sikhs, Muslims passing over elements of the coronation garb. So you've got a real sense of...
Oh, well, they coronation, but make it diverse, so that makes it good and progressive. High Commissioner, by the way, just means a diplomat to a Commonwealth country. We still have commissioners to Bangladesh, Botswana, Singapore, Fiji, many others too. It has nothing to do with if they are a republic or not. So we've got High Commissioner for Commonwealth countries. That's what you're saying. But we don't have a High Commissioner to, for example, the USA or to Japan or China, something like that. We might have a High Commissioner to Hong Kong. Maybe. Is that what that is? Is that what you're saying? 37. Sounds like she should know better than to go around snogging strange men walking past her in London crowns. House of Morton sounds more like House of Vodka Revs. Well, to be honest, who fucking knows? I don't think this was the person who was kissing young King Charles. But I do also think that, like, yeah, it's probably just going out and getting pissed. You know? It's probably what it is.
Of Britain, a new Britain, a multicultural, multiracial Britain.
Is that a conscious choice, do you think, by him? Because, yes, you're right, it will look very different in terms of the people that are there. And also, there'll be fewer of them, won't there, in terms of the invites that were for the Queen's coronation?
Well, I think that's right. I mean, of course, it's a conscious.
She just dropped her fucking phone. I don't watch telly like this. Do you know what I mean? Like, this isn't BBC shit, but I don't have a TV license, so I don't fucking watch any live TV or like recorded BBC stuff or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? Oh, it's like ITV, this stuff. So it's like, it's just so funny that like Kate, like this lady was like saying good morning to me like every morning when I was a kid. And she's just like out here dropping her phone on set. It's fucking funny as fuck.
Choice, because these are the things that matter to him. And this isn't new. I mean, in those 50 years that he was Prince of Wales, this is exactly what we saw, because he values the diversity of this country, not for its own sake, but because he knows that that difference has real value, and that by bringing people together from different faiths, different perspectives, we're all stronger and we all learn from each other and we support each other.
How will he feel about...
So if we bring all the people from different faiths together to give the special man his special jewels on his head, we're going to learn more about each other, and there's going to be a lot more racial harmony in the United Kingdom. You know, this guy is a fucking real prat. You know, a real prat. Yeah, like oh, well, you know, the man whose legacy represents the subjugation of thousands, hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of deaths and slavery all around the world. Well, you know, because he had like a Muslim and a Jew and a Sikh at his coronation, that means there'll be better racial harmony all over the world. Right? It's fucking sick. It's actually sick.
The raising murmur and sort of the criticism that's pointed towards the monarchy as its relevance anymore in today's society. Will he feel offended by that, or will he be ready to defend it and understands that that's just a usual perspective that people will have?
King Charles, he's going to be on the next debate panel. Watch out.
We live in a democracy and we debate these things openly and freely, and that's...
No, we don't. No, we don't. They literally put organisers and protesters in fucking jail before they had a chance to do anything. It's
a great strength of our society, and these
that's not democracy, bro. That's literally not democracy.
Debates, these questions aren't new. People have been talking about these things for hundreds of years.
I mean, you're High Commissioner to Barbados,
I am.
aren't you? Which became a republic not that long ago, 2021.
King debate,
so you must be very conscious of the decisions of nations to not have Charles as head of state.
That was a decision taken by the government of Barbados to remove the Queen as head of state, become a republic, as other countries had done before. You know, when the Queen was queen, she was queen of all sorts of places that she wasn't queen of by the end of her reign. She was queen of Pakistan until 54, Malta until the mid-70s, Fiji until the late 80s. These things do change, and the Prince, as Prince of Wales, he said this, that these things do change, and the benefit of long life has shown him that they can change calmly and without rancour. And that's why he came to Barbados for that moment, to show that this wasn't something that he regretted, but actually this was...
Bro, without rancour. Why are they fucking blurring all this stuff, man? They've got the... You know what they've got here, don't you? They've got a live mask, a camera blur mask, and they were supposed to invert it because you can see this area here where the text is. That's supposed to be blurred, and the reason that that's supposed to be blurred is so you can see the text better, etc., etc., but they've like blurred all of the other images up here. Or I don't know, maybe they've done it for YouTube because it's like footage from the fucking BBC or something. Actually, that makes more sense, that it would be like from the BBC and they're not allowed to use it on YouTube. Actually, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. That's probably what it is.
This was something that could change.
Yeah, I was wondering why. When I said it out loud, I was like, wait, they don't need to blur the background of the text because it looks fine. Oh, yeah. They're getting DMCA'd on YouTube.
That actually it was an opportunity to celebrate the enduring partnership we enjoy with these countries within the context of the Commonwealth.
But there's also the sense as well that towards the end of the Queen's reign, she was, as it were, a heat shield that stopped any kind of debate at all about the relevance, the cost, and the monarchy going forwards.
Why was that?
So,
Respect for age?
I love that as well. Like, this is a good question from Kate here, because it's like, well, why was the Queen some sort of special debate killer? Do you know what I mean? Why were we not allowed to debate the monarchy under the Queen? I don't understand. Like, why was it like that? What did she do that maybe King Charles isn't going to do or hasn't done? You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. Like, why do people love the Queen so much? The Queen fucking knighted Jimmy Savile. Do you know what I mean? And they all fucking knew what was going on.
And that's out of respect for her.
And she also used her money to, you know, get Prince Andrew off the hook.
And I think that with King Charles taking the throne, it's allowed more room for debate. Hence the fact that he's
snazzy nickname
underpinned and underscored an investigation into the royal family and its links to slavery. That is taking place at Manchester University. So there is a...
It's so ridiculous, yeah, that there has to be a investigation done into the royal family's links to slavery, right? Because slavery happened when monarchs still had absolute power in this country. Yeah, we know that happened. Colonization, all that stuff, all done in the name of the king, right? And that is the royal family. It's there in writing. It's in many, many books. You don't need to do a big investigation about it. It's happened. It's fact. It's literally fact.
A side to the monarchy that people will be looking at more critically than they looked at during the Queen's reign.
I just dropped my phone
So there you go. We're not perfect, us presenters.
What about
broadcasters?
Queen Camilla? You, of course, famously wrote a book which seemed to, I think you've now acknowledged, had a lot of contacts directly with Diana, did or certainly passed through things from Diana. There's a lot of people that still feel uncomfortable about the past, but also a welcoming of her. And she's been very involved in this coronation, we understand.
Well, she's been very involved in the coronation, but it's also, over the years, been very supportive to Prince Charles. And, yes, of course...
he's needed such support, hasn't he? Poor Prince Charles, sleeping on his bed of gold with his blanket made of gold and his teddy bear made of gold. Oh, and he could just, whenever he wants, he could phone up a butler who could perform a sex act on him, can't he? You know? And all that he needs all that support, doesn't he? Just if he wants a steak at 3 o'clock in the morning, he could just have a steak for free. You know, none of that.
The shadow of Diana.
He needs that support. He needed a supportive wife through all of it, didn't he? What would he have done without Camilla? What would he have done without her? Oh my God, I dread the thought.
Well hover over the Abbey to some extent, but at the same time, King Charles and Queen Camilla have been...
Thank you so much, Anonymous, for the £5. Thank you for donating off Twitch and also for supporting the stream. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
The kind of Darby and Joan of the royal family since 2005 when they married. So we're talking about the days when Diana was alive 25 years ago.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people...
He needed someone to be the butler if all the other butlers were sick, yeah.
She has been a great asset, don't they?
Well, I think what people have seen over recent years is the way she's just got on and done the job. I mean, she's a woman who's...
What fucking job? What fucking job? Riddle me this, pal. What job? Like, they're obsessed. This is the big line that they're going for nowadays. Like, oh, they've got a job to do. What job, bro? What job? Diplomacy. Oh, shit, you have to go and sit in a hotel and sit in meetings, you know what I mean? And, like, when you have to do that, like, once a week, fuck me, bro. Like, oh, the job of running the country, I have to sign all these fascist laws codify them into law, into legislation.
In her time, but she has never let that distract her from what she's there to do. She's championed the causes which matter most to her, and as Andrew was saying, I
think that's like another thing. Like, if people come at you with oh, they do an important job for the country. Like, oh, what? Well, they're diplomats, aren't they? It's like, yes, famously, all the countries that don't have monarchs, they have no diplomats. 0 diplomats. They just don't exist, do they? When a country has a monarch, they got diplomats, haven't they? But when they don't have monarchs, no diplomats. Famously, every single republic all over the world, they have no foreign relations whatsoever. Impossible. Impossible.
Been there by the prince and now the king's side in what is very genuinely a partnership between two people who love each other and depend upon each other.
Scott, do you think he'll enjoy the weekend, or will he just want to get it over and done with?
I think he will want to ensure that things go well. He'll have thought about this. He's been very involved in the planning, but he'll already be thinking about the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, because I know that's how...
Yeah, he was heavily involved in the planning. He very much went, oh, those Republicans, make sure they get made examples of, you know. Make sure you throw them in the dungeons. We don't do dungeons anymore. What about Guantanamo Bay? Is that not ours? Oh. Well, just throw them in a dungeon anyway. We've got dungeons still. Throw them in a dungeon.
He works.
I think we all have a pyjama moment in our heads when we've got something big on, don't we? Where we're looking forward to the moment we can put our pyjamas on and think, well, that went well, thank goodness. Well, he must have an element of that.
Well, he'll already know what's in his diary for the...
Bro, are you fucking kidding me? Like, he's saying, like, the king doesn't have a... She's on about downtime. She's on about pyjama moment. Right, the pyjama moment is when you get in from your day of work and you're like, thank God that's over, right? Trying to make the most of it before it starts again tomorrow. And it's like, what, you think the king doesn't have plenty of those? Fuck me, dude. How out of touch are these people? Do you know what? It's not so much that the monarchy's out of touch. It's that everybody who supports the monarchy is hideously out of touch, aren't they? Like, every single person who supports the monarchy is so atrociously
out of fucking touch. They've got no clue what it's like to be working class in Britain at the moment, or anywhere else in the world, or a victim of colonialism or anything like that. So hideously out of touch that it's like offensive, isn't it? It's like genuinely insulting, you know? Hey Fish, how's it going? The only media I've consumed for this far related to the coronation was from Anfield, where the football fans booed the UK national anthem with all their might. Yeah, Liverpool fans. Gotta fucking love them, man. Gotta love them.
That come after, but
Celtic
I'm sure
fans as well. They've been popping off.
He'll be hoping that the sacred does not
or Celtic,
turn into
I think,
slapstick as it did possibly during the George VI coronation, where the Archbishop of Canterbury put the crown on the wrong way around.
They'll have rehearsed that carefully.
Oh, imagine a life where the worst thing that you had to be afraid of in anything that you've ever done is that the special wizard puts the special hat on you the wrong way round. Oh my God, Jesus Christ. I can't believe it, darling. The special wizard, he put the hat on the wrong way around. My life is ruined. Slapstick moment will never be forgotten as long as I live.
And the Queen, for her coronation, was worried that one of the bishops who had those big bushy eyebrows would start wiggling them and start her off laughing.
You know, the bishop, he was wiggling his big bushy eyebrows at me. He's ruined my week. He's ruined my week.
She can control the eyebrows of the bishops. I'm not sure is one. What do you think,
of course,
Scott?
was very mischievous, wasn't he?
As a child, at the coronation.
At the coronation, he ran up and down, and the Queen Mum had to step in. He was very little.
Scott, what do you think is the biggest misconception of the king? You know him personally.
I think that people probably didn't feel they knew him. I think what was...
What the fuck are you talking about? How is this guy gonna now... I'm ready. I'm waiting for this guy to change my mind. He's going to change my mind. He's going to say to me, well, actually, DJ Muel, you do know the king. You know him very well. He's actually the gardener. He comes and does your gardening once a week. Actually, it's a kind of Santa Claus gig where he goes around and does a lot of stuff all over the world. And he's magic. He's got like a sledge and it, you know.
Striking about those scenes that I think you just showed your viewers of him greeting the crowds outside the palace shortly after the Queen's death was people saw a very human side to him that perhaps they hadn't
Bro, are you have to be shitting me, man. You have to be shitting me that this guy came to the table with the argument that, like, well, everybody knows him and he's relatable because he was around when his mum died. Great. Okay. All right.
Expected to see. Those of us who've...
They didn't expect him to care. They didn't expect him to care as much. Oh, he was weeping everywhere in public, wasn't he? Do you remember all the pictures of King Charles weeping profusely at the loss of his mother? Do you remember? What's that? You think you saw him do a happy little dance? No, that was a sadness dance. That was a sadness dance he was doing. He was dancing with joy because he was sad. It's actually a type of ailment, so you're being ableist by suggesting that he was happy that his mum had died.
Had the privilege of working with him or have seen him in action know that that's exactly who he is. And I think what's been wonderful to see is over
that's
the last
fair. Let
8
him be
months
king then.
during his reign, people have perhaps begun to see him as a person as well as him as
What
the
about
role.
something that you've experienced personally that you feel is the moment that was the mark of the man?
Oh, goodness me,
What the fuck are you talking about? The moment that was the mark of the man? Why the fuck? What is this? What is this?
I could point to lots of things, but I mean, one thing that very personal to me, which made a tremendous difference shortly after I started working for him, my mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer and we lost her very quickly. The then Prince, he barely knew me. He'd certainly never met my mother, but he sent her the most extraordinary handwritten letter telling her how sorry he was that she was ill and saying he hoped that she took comfort in her pride in me and the rest of my family. And that's the sort of thing he did time and time again because he knew that he occupied this extraordinary position that he could use to make a real difference in people's lives.
Okay. All right. I get it, yeah. That is pretty nice thing to do, and maybe it caught his, like, heart. Yeah, maybe it caught the humanity inside him, because even though he's an absolute monarch, he's still a person, right? And there's somewhere deep down inside him, there is this like thing that's saying to him, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. He can't hear it because he's like 55,000 years old, and he's got this like lifetime of people telling him he's a special boy and he's going to save the world and all this stuff. And maybe that bit, yeah, that like he was like, oh well, you know, I should probably do that. I should probably send her a letter. Like, to write a handwritten letter, like I do that for my patrons. I'm not gonna lie. Like, they're not dying of cancer, but like if you get to like a certain level of being a patron in my Patreon, I'll write you a handwritten letter. It's not hard. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those things, you know, and it's like, oh, he wrote a handwritten letter to someone who had cancer, and it's like, all right, great, dude. Like, it doesn't mean that he gets to, like, you know, subjugate the entire nation and allow protesters to be arrested ahead of the event for a peaceful protest, right? They sound exactly like crypto evangelists. No actual arguments, just puff and non sequiturs. Yeah. Very, very true. Yeah. Very, very true. That's an astute observation, Ludo. Just write wanker on mine. I will do that. He probably went and killed a couple of puppies to clear out all the disgusting niceness afterwards. Oh my God.
I think my experience of meeting was there was always this wonderful sense of humour and warmth about him, which you sometimes...
Right, chat, listen, just before I finish this, I gotta go to the toilet real quick. See you in a sec. Right, I'm back. It's not a new super soldier level reward. It's been that way. What people don't know is I send, along with the anarchist pin badge, I send a handwritten letter along with that. It's like a nice surprise. So there you go. Okay, I've got my water. It's time to check out the rest of this guy. Talking shit. I just got some water on my screen. Oh my God. Okay.
In the eyes,
and we know Katy Perry's performing at the concert. You and your family are big fans of Katy Perry.
That's right.
Didn't Prince Charles, but now King Charles, facilitate quite a moment for you and Katy Perry?
Well, we were in India, and Katy Perry was at an event to raise money for the Prince's British Asian Trust, which is a charity he started to improve lives and livelihoods in South Asia.
Right, Mild.
And yes, Katy Perry was going to be there, and I did happen to mention to him that my children and perhaps I were big fans. And so normally we would hold back at those events, those of us in the household, and not get in the way, but he very generously asked her if she'd have a selfie.
It's not hard to do that. Katy Perry would probably fucking have a selfie with a rando. Do you know what I mean? Who's at one of her gigs. Do you know what I mean? Saying that, like, oh, King Charles is such a nice man. He let me have a selfie with Katy Perry. Of course Katy Perry would be at the coronation. Hell yeah. Of course she would. She loves that shit.
With me, which earned me huge brownie points with my daughter.
Can I just say, I love the idea that he took that picture. I mean, he didn't. I'm just, in my head, it was him taking the picture.
Well, there we go.
I just, in my head, the idea that King Charles is a kitty cat. And a big fan of Katy Perry. That's where I've gone with it. But you are, well...
A kitty cat. What, like George Galloway?
Which is good.
It's going to be an extraordinary day. Andrew, what are your expectations for the day? I mean, we know that people are going to be allowed to protest, and that's a hugely important part.
That's not true, is it? That's incorrect, isn't it? There were people who were arrested because they were going to protest. Oh, you've got that wrong, Mr. Good Morning Britain. Incorrect. Incorrect.
Of the democracy we live in, but is that going to distract from what happens?
It's just a lie, isn't it? The democracy we live in, we don't live in that.
I think it's got the potential to be a very moving occasion because this is a state event. It's not just a family event.
How?
I think obviously initially all eyes will be on the arrival of Prince Harry. Who does he arrive with? Where does he sit? What's his position? But I think transcending that is going to be this sense of Britain turning a genuine page historically as a country. We're not talking about a new Carolean age, we're talking about business as usual, but at the same time we get a real sense of modern Britain.
And a huge...
This is so funny. That was the most absurd statement that I've ever heard about any of this stuff. Like, they're like saying shit like, oh, well, you know, it's going to usher in a new age, and you know, people are going to be really focused on where Prince Harry's going to sit and if he's going to be with Meghan or anything like that. And but really, the most important thing is definitely the king, and it's going to be emotional and it's real, and you know, it's going to be a new age, but not too much of a new age. It's going to be the same stuff, business as usual, status quo. Yeah, nothing will actually change, but it will change. But nothing will change, but it will be good. But it will be the same. But it will be good. But it's always been good, hasn't it? Long live the king. All that. Do you know what I mean? Love that.
Huge moment internationally as well. We've got something like 200 countries and territories being represented, all of these heads of state and government coming in for this event. It's a huge opportunity for us diplomatically to really project modern Britain and to strengthen those relationships and partnerships that we have around the world. And that, you know, the monarchy plays a massive part in that.
And you'll be there. You're an invitee.
I feel very fortunate that I will be in the Abbey, somewhere right at the back, no doubt. But to be in that extraordinary space for that moment will be very special.
Is there a dress code for?
It doesn't even look that good. It legitimately doesn't even look that good. It looks actually quite cringe, doesn't it? Like the invite. It's like, oh, well, you know, there's an attempted design of like, you know, sort of paisley kind of stuff going on, but it's not that good. It's just like lots of little dots and it's like a green head or something here. And, you know, you got like these coats of arms on the side, and it's like their coronation of their Majesties King Charles III and Queen Camilla. I didn't think she was going to be called the Queen. I thought she was going to be called Queen Consort. By the command of the King, the Earl Marshal is directed to invite Mr. Scott Ferguson Wood. The pens, Camilla, they just won't cooperate. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
For the members of the congregation?
There's a suggested dress code. There's a range of options, I think. I don't have anything particularly
Royal
fancy,
consort.
but I'll be...
But you must have been planning. I mean, you've got to plan your...
I don't have any ermine.
You've got to plan the coronation outfit.
Well, I think the tie, choosing...
No, I'm not queer. I'll just be wearing a suit. No, thanks. I'm not one of those. No, I'll just be wearing a suit like a normal man.
The tie is probably the biggest dilemma I've got. Andrew and I have coordinated our ties this morning, as you can see. So.
We borrowed it from each other's wardrobes.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for the tie.
So much easier for men, isn't it? All he's worried about is the tie.
Scott, thank you so much for coming in and joining us. Do enjoy the weekend. We will be there, of course.
And that statement there is about as feminist as great Good Morning Britain gets. Literally, like, you know, it's like it's always easier for men to to get dressed, isn't it? What's that about? Well, better not think about it too much. Best not think about it too much. Anyway, tell us about our absolute monarch.
And Andrew, great to get your perspective as well.
We're live at the Westminster Abbey this Saturday, aren't we? We've got people all over, actually. I'm at Buckingham.
No one fucking cares. No one fucking cares, Kate. No one fucking cares. Well, the coronation did, of course, happen this weekend. And, you know, a lot of fucking rubbish. A load of fucking shit. I didn't watch any of it. I've got no idea what happened. I literally don't care. I feel like I definitely didn't miss out. What is it? It's a bunch of, like, old white guys putting a crown on an older white guy's head that means nothing. It represents some of the worst things in this world. And I would rather eat my own shit. I would rather shit in my own hand and eat it than watch the coronation of King Charles. There were people who were banned from the coronation. They were arrested. One of those people was Graham Smith, who is the leader of an organisation that someone in the chat spoke about earlier called Republic. And he's been tweeting up a storm. He's been tweeting an absolute storm up. He said here, slightly lost my call on Jeremy Vine this afternoon. I hadn't been told there'd be another guest. I'm not currently in the mood for pompous commentators. I'm also not in the mood to discuss whether someone's right to wave flags at a king justifies locking people up. For the good of my own health, I'm not going to be doing any more interviews today, and other than the two I've committed to, hopefully feeling better tomorrow. Now, basically, if you don't want to know, Graham Smith wrote a book called Abolish the Monarchy, Why We Should and How We Will. I don't know much about his politics other than abolition of the monarchy, but I do think that he is probably pretty based, you know, to a degree. So this is out. He's doing a lot of retweeting of things about the public order bill and people disagreeing with it. We have retrieved the Enterprise van the police took from us, boldly going where no van has gone before. The police gave me 16 hours to bed in. So let's have a look at this. Howard Beckett says, Keir Starmer says the Tory policing bill that criminalises peaceful protest should be allowed to bed in and that he won't repeal it. So those are the options that we've got on the ballot in Britain at the moment. We've got fascist or fascist, which is good, isn't it? That's great. I'm sure that'll go really well for everyone involved. Some other things he's been tweeting about. The Met Police here saying the coronation was a historic moment of huge national significance. It was the most challenging, fast-moving and complex policing picture we've ever encountered for a national celebration. We're proud to have successfully ensured its safety and security. Apart from those whose safety and security were at risk at the hands of the Met Police. He's right. He's absolutely right. Here's a good one. This isn't Graham Smith, but this is someone who's retweeted. The agony of 2 million families a month unable to pay bills and the cost of living crisis, and a gowned billionaire who had £250 million of public funds lavished on his coronation at today's Daily Mirror's front page. Look at that. Bills agony. 2 million households unable to pay at least one month. Thank you to all. King's message to the nation. It's insane. It's actually insane that this is a headline. And people are just fine with Britain existing in its current state. They're just fine with it. They're just like, yeah, great. This is normal. This is good. I just can't. I genuinely can't deal with it. It's just so insane. He's wearing his big fucking scepter and his orb and all that and his crown. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ, man. Literally absurd. Of course, there's all these idiots in the fucking comments who are like, life's hard. It's easier if you get a job and work hard. Fuck off, you prick. Fucking stupid prick. So here's another thing from Good Morning Britain, and this is from yesterday. I've not seen this, but Graham Smith has retweeted it, which says that he agrees with it. So let's have a look and see what these are saying. Let's have a look and see what these are actually saying. Was the coronation worth it?
One of those occasions where you just watched it and thought, this country is nuts, but it's our kind of nuts. It's eccentric, it's crazy, it's full of bling. As somebody said, you know, the King and Queen looked like two aged pandas in a golden pumpkin, you know, as they went down in the state coach. And I did think it was uplifting, and I thought there were elements of it that could make
In what way, man? What the
us
fuck?
very, very proud. And there is the other element. Even just UK hospitality, just you know, restaurants and bars saying it's going to bring in another 350 million. Well, you've already...
Right. Let me tell you something, right? I think I spoke about this yesterday. I might not have. I think it might have just been in the Discord, yeah? But in the gay village this weekend, there were like, you know, Union Jacks everywhere, like loads of different, like, you know, red, white, and blue all over the place. And I walked through it at 2 different points in my day, yeah? And at both times, it was fucking dead. Yeah, on a long weekend, the village should be packed. Packed with people. The fact that they were having coronation celebrations didn't like just not make as much money as they thought they would have made, but also they turned people away from who would have been, you know, interested in going to those pubs if they hadn't had coronation decorations all over the village, right? Lots of cops and horsemen in this shot, that's right. Look at that. Isn't it funny? He's just such a normal person, isn't he? Such a normal guy in his carriage of gold, but he needs all of these cops with guns to protect him and all of these horsemen to protect him as well. Needs all of this stuff. You know, the coronation was literally just a flex of state power. That's all it was, right? It was like, look at all these guns we've got. Look at this royal guard. Elite royal guard, you know? And they're not as elite as you might think, by the way. They're normally like standard soldiers. They might just have to do like a bit more training than the average soldier. Do you know what I mean? Like learning about like what to say and not say in the presence of the king, or like what you're doing when you're patrolling fucking Buckingham Palace and all that. They're not like elite soldiers. They're just like fucking normal soldiers. I get paid a bit more in it. Do you know what I mean? That's it. At least 1.5 of the 2 million were being paid to be there. Yeah, exactly.
Your money.
So
and
bad.
Do you want to have constitutional change at the moment and really get rid of the king as...
There is no constitution! I can't fucking stress this enough when any of these fucking idiots say, oh, constitutional change. There is no constitution. We don't have one. We don't have a fucking constitution in this country. It doesn't exist. Fucking idiots. Every single last one of them.
Advertising for British tourism.
It couldn't have been better. I think it was nuts, it was sacred, it was eccentric, and it was unique.
OK, well, in the blue corner, Daisy puts her case to you. Well, I know you were shaking your head vigorously throughout that.
Yeah, well, I just think in terms of this coronation, I'm not sure it was that worth it, just because a lot of people weren't paying that much attention. I mean, it's no secret that at the moment it's a difficult time. People can't meet their basic needs because of the cost of living crisis. And for that reason, the coronation and by extension the royal family are the last thing on a lot of people's minds. Interestingly, there was a poll done just days before the coronation, and it showed that just 20% of the UK were very interested in the coronation. And when we drilled down into that, the under 35s, just 31% of them had any intention of watching at all. And I think what that shows is that we're not...
And that's watching, right? There will be people who are in that under 35 group who will probably have watched it for a laugh. Do you know what I mean? To have a bit of a laugh, get pissed, and throw like a coronation party. But again, it's just an excuse to get pissed. Do you know what I mean?
Facing a sort of rise in anti-monarchist Republican sentiment. What we're...
No, they'll never call it the wage theft crisis, because then that would let people know what it actually is. Yeah. It's always like, oh, well, the prices have to go up, so it's a cost of living crisis. That's bad. It's so funny because even if you called it a wage theft crisis, the cost of living crisis, it implies that people are setting costs too high to live, doesn't it? So it's surprising. I think even if we called it a wage theft crisis, people wouldn't fucking care. They would be still in this level of like, you know, I don't know. It might radicalize some people, but I don't know. You'd be living a pipe dream if you ever think this kind of media is gonna call it that.
Seeing is a crisis of indifference towards the royal family, and they themselves know that that's the most damaging thing. It's why the Queen so famously said, "I need to be seen to be believed." But it's very difficult to get a population that isn't looking in the first place.
Yeah, it's true. She's right. I'm upset that they cut her off there. You know, Good Morning Britain doing a good job of cutting off black women at the moment. Yeah, I can see you. You know. Oh shit! What's Peter Tatchell saying? Peter Tatchell, if you don't know him, he's like a queer activist. He used to say some pretty Islamophobic things. So, but I think he might have chilled out with that shit nowadays. But like, because he's like a queer rights activist, so he would like always be like that. Oh, this throw you off a building for being gay in the Middle East, you know, stuff like that, and like, you know, Islam is like a bad religion and all that stuff. I don't know if he's like stopped all of that, but let's see what he's got to say on this shit.
Well, I agree there needs to be a major investigation into the way in which the police made a promise and then broke it. They arrested 6 leaders of Republic, which is a peaceful, non-disruptive campaign group that has worked with the police over many years.
Yeah, the revolution won't be televised.
Never caused any problem. The police tore up the agreement they had and arrested those 6 leaders on spurious charges such as possessing placards, possessing string.
So here's the thing, chat. Like, Peter Tatchell is talking about like the legitimate issues. He is pro-trans, yeah. The legitimate issues with the vague terms in the public order bill, right? For having string on you, you can be arrested. So if anyone has string on them at any point, they could just be arrested under suspicion of going to do a protest, right? If you have a placard, right? A placard, you can be arrested. Yeah?
And possessing lock-on devices. But Republic assured me they had no lock-on devices. They had no plans for any disruption. And the police have been asked for evidence. What were these lock-on devices? The police refused to say so. And what the police are now doing is an attempt to discredit Republic by making a series of false, and I would suggest possibly even malicious allegations against that group. I was appalled. You know, hundreds of people who were coming to Trafalgar Square to join the Republic protest, as it had been agreed with the police, were turned away and blocked from coming into the square. When we arrived in the square, we discovered that the very designated point where the police said we could protest, they erected a gigantic watchtower with hoardings about 20 feet high.
Jesus Christ.
Neither the king could see us, nor we could see the king. This is a deliberate attempt to obscure our protest. In a free society, even if you love the monarchy, people have a right to protest. And that right was not established and affirmed on Saturday.
So it's going to be really interesting to see, you know, how this sort of like shakes the foundations of Brits who know that this stuff is like super bad. Like, this is all people are really talking about. Paul Brand, all I know about Paul Brand is that he's a reporter for ITV, and he says this isn't really about the coronation now. Take out the specific subject of the protest monarchy, replace it with an issue you care about. Would you expect to be arrested for having a placard with your favoured slogan on it? Serious questions for principle of policing by consent, right? And here's another thing. It's absolutely fucking horrific. That... So, I don't know if I can show these images because they look like they might be showing... do they show, like, people getting injured and stuff? Hang on, let me just skim through this real quick. So this is an ITV report. And I'm going to have to skip this first bit because it shows some injuries. But this is Jay Akbar, and he did a story for ITV London. About people who are known as night stars. So we're going to transition into the next segment of the stream, which we are moving on from fuck the king to fuck the Met. And there's a content warning here that you all need to be aware of about animal death. Because fundamentally, the Met Police are the stormtroopers of the ruling class. Not just the Met Police, but the police in general. They are the people who will enforce fascist laws, as we've seen, as we've been talking about. And so we're going to segue into this bit. But as I say, I'm not going to show you this first bit because I feel like Twitch might get a little bit mad. But let's listen.
Riz Chowdhury has felt steel on his wrists before. As an Extinction Rebellion activist, he is, as they say, known to police.
I was racially targeted last night and arrested by the police.
Except when he and 2 others were arrested in the early hours of Saturday, they'd been volunteering for Night Stars, a charity partnered with the Met. Its volunteers promote women's safety on the streets of London. Their duties include handing out slippers, water, and rape alarms.
And that last detail there is why the Met said it arrested those 3 people, including Riz, somewhere in this area, because it said it received intel that groups or individuals were seeking to use rape alarms to try and disrupt the coronation later that day.
So, here's the thing. If you are going to disrupt the coronation, that is your right. But let's think about how this sounds, just in general. How stupid these fucking officers and the Met are in general. The Met recently had a report into them about, you know, how it was institutionally misogynist, institutionally racist, queerphobic, all these kinds of things. And, you know, we know that Wayne Couzens killed Saver Everard. We know that, like, a police officer killed this woman. Police officers have, like, stalked women, harassed them, you know, sexually assaulted them, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, so they actually chose to, you know, confiscate rape alarms from an organization that they work with to help prevent sexual assault. And they confiscated them off these people, like a whole bunch of rape alarms.
The Met added there was particular concern this would scare their horses involved in the procession and cause significant risk to the safety of the public and...
Oh, well, I don't know, chap. Maybe they shouldn't be using fucking animals in a public show of fucking power. Maybe we should just not do that, dude. I don't know. Sounds like just having horses in general is like bad for everyone, including the horses. So like maybe don't do that, innit? Do you know what I mean?
The riders. On his release, Riz spoke to journalist Mick Wright, who told me the arrest sets a dangerous precedent.
They weren't involved in an action, so this was all preemptive action by the police.
And on Riz's affiliation with Extinction Rebellion.
XR is not a banned group, right? And he was not there in his auspices at XR. The police and Westminster Council have given, you know, he has a jacket given to him by them with the Metropolitan Police logo on it. So if you believe that, if you believe that, then take it up with the police.
More than 50 people from various groups were arrested during anti-monarchy protests on Coronation Day. The Culture Secretary argues the police got the balance right, but one Just Stop Oil protester arrested in Parliament Square says that simply isn't the case.
I had not shouted any slogans, I had not lifted up a banner, I had not even displayed my T-shirt, and yet I was arrested preemptively. The only reason I was there was to try and raise concern about the climate crisis.
Night Stars said they...
What the fuck? It's just so fucked, chat.
Deeply concerned their volunteers were arrested while helping the most vulnerable on the streets. And they're now working with the Met to figure out exactly what happened. Jay Akbar, ITV News.
So there you go. There you go, chat. This is us segueing into our segment on the Met Police at large. They are disgusting bastards. But let's hear what they had to say about the regret over arresting 6 anti-monarchy protesters. So the Metropolitan Police has expressed regret over the arrest of 6 monarchy protesters on Coronation Day. Republic Chief Executive Graham Smith, who was among the group, says he has now received a personal apology from police officers. Well, that makes it all fine, doesn't it, chat? When you have your fundamental right to protest removed from you and you get arrested for simply wanting to oppose one of the most brutal regimes, dictatorships, if you will, or of the entire world, you will get arrested. But an apology just makes it all fine, doesn't it? It just makes it all fine. That just goes away when you apologise. A couple of coppers come to your gaff and go, terribly sorry about that. Like in the movie Brazil. So, the Met has also confirmed it used a controversial new law to detain the group. Mr. Smith said a chief inspector and 2 other officers visited his Reading home on Monday evening to issue the apology. He told PA News Agency they seemed rather embarrassed, to be honest. Well, let's see what Graham Smith has to say for himself.
When you were arrested, tell us the circumstances and what was said to you.
Well, at the time, we were simply unloading placards from our van. We were immediately descended upon by a large number of police officers from the, I believe they're called the TSG, a particular group of officers, and they immediately stopped us from unloading, detained us, searched us and the van. They told us that they were going to arrest us on suspicion of being equipped to lock on, which was untrue. There was nothing that we had in our possession that could have allowed us to lock on. They then took us and held us for 16 hours. And there was absolutely, they also said they had intelligence, which is untrue.
It's also like, this is another one of those situations, chat, where unfortunately I was right. Like, I remember about a year ago, maybe a year and 3 months ago or something like that. I feel like it was sometime around like a November. I want to say it was like November 2021 or something like that. Or maybe even November last year. I don't know. It might have been a year ago. It might have been like 9 months ago or something, yeah? But I remember very distinctly saying that the clauses in this bill, the sections in this bill that said things like you can, we can arrest you for having things on your person that might be used to lock on. They'll get away with that if you're doing something as simple as wearing a pair of pants. Right? Because technically, you could fucking, tie yourself up to a bridge or something, couldn't you? If you're wearing a pair of pants, you could take them off and use them to tie them to. If you've got a belt on, you could use that to lock onto something. They don't actually specify what locking on means. Not that it's like impossible to get out or whatever. It'll be something like that. They'll just do whatever. Shoelaces, you know what I mean? String, all that shit. Do you know what I mean? So, absolutely insane. But yeah, this is the fact. This is like what's happening. This is literally what's happening.
If they did have intelligence, their intelligence officers are either lying or incompetent.
Sized official, welcome to the stream. How are you doing?
Discussion, thought, email, message, anything that suggested any intent to do anything disruptive. And we have had 4 months of close conversation with the Metropolitan Police in which we have explained to them exactly what we're going to do, where we're going to be. We told them that we
sorry, I don't have any CC for this, by the way.
They would say that we would have flags, that we would have amplification equipment. The amplification equipment was then seized, and we were told that we would be arrested. My colleagues were told they'd be arrested if they used megaphones. The whole thing was a deliberate attempt to disrupt and diminish our protest.
What were you, when it came to it then, what were you intending to do? So you didn't have megaphones. What were you intending to do?
No, we had megaphones. We had amplifiers as well. We intended to be in large numbers on Trafalgar Square near the procession route, as well as having smaller groups along the procession route. We were very clear with the Metropolitan Police about that over the last 4 months, and they repeatedly said, right up until Friday, that they had no concerns about our protest plans. They are well aware of what we're going to do, and they would engage with us and not disrupt us. So they have repeatedly lied about their intentions. Cops. And I believe that they had every intention of arresting us prior to doing so.
Right, you think this was premeditated? There was nothing you could have done or not done what would have altered what happened to you?
Absolutely. I have no doubt about that at all, simply because there was nothing that we did do that could possibly justify even being detained, let alone arrested and held.
Well, there you have it, chat. Mr. Smith, who was from Bristol earlier, said he wanted a full inquiry into the disgraceful episode. I mean, I admire his faith in the system. I do admire his faith in the system, because what do you think an inquiry into the matter will reveal, right? Oh, that they used the fascist law to be fascist. You know, I appreciate that. I appreciate what you want, Graham Smith. I appreciate that you may be Republic pilled and anti-monarchy pilled and all that, but the system does not want you looking into things that it does. That's the fact of the matter. So, you know, that's that, isn't it? We regret that those 6 people were arrested and unable to join the wider group of protesters in Trafalgar Square and elsewhere on the procession route, a statement continued. Now it is said all 6 people have had their bail cancelled and confirmed no further action will be taken. But it doesn't matter though, does it? It doesn't matter though. Like they say, oh, don't worry, we got it wrong, it's fine, we've let them go, they've got no charge, the charges have been dropped and they've got no bail. The protest was prevented, wasn't it? And it also doesn't stop the fact that there are Just Stop Oil protesters in prison still for non-violent protest. Yeah? He said he'd been held for 16 hours on the morning of the coronation after being stopped by officers who suspected him and group members of carrying lock-on devices. So, yeah, fuck the Met, basically. And unfortunately, we've got more about the Met Police, you know, and how they're very quickly becoming the SS of the Tory party. This is not something... Now, big content warning here for Animal Death. I'm not going to be showing this footage or any, like, horrific images. And in fact, I'm just going to double check and make sure that this doesn't have... This thumbnail doesn't have anything horrible in it. The thumbnail that you're going to see is, like... you know... Oh, this doesn't even have a story. This literally doesn't even have a fucking story. It's just like... I fucking hate this shit so much, man. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, basically, the image that you're going to see is, like, the cops pointing a gun at 2 dogs and, like, a guy who is clearly just, like, homeless or something. Or not even homeless. He's just a crusty-looking guy, right? So this is a story that came out literally yesterday. Met Police shoot dead 2 dogs and tase a man in East London. The Met Police has defended its officers after a suspect was tasered and 2 dogs were shot. In a statement, the police said, "This is never an easy decision for any officer to take, but police have a duty to act where necessary before any further injury is caused." Right. Horrific. And yeah, you can tell what's going to go on here. I don't need to show you this footage. It's fucking gross. It's horrible. My heart goes out to this guy and these 2 dogs that the police just fucking shot. It's absolutely insane. They're just gangs. They just go around. They fucking bully people. It's the same all over the world. Fuck the police. All cops are bastards. Even your uncle, who's not that bad, right? And so, you know, just a quick highlight into how the Met Police not only enforce fascist laws, but they go around and shoot dogs for no fucking reason. Yeah? Literally. So we're not going to watch that video, but let's take a look. Let's take a look at what the Met Police say on the Metropolitan Police's official YouTube channel. Let's see what they say about a day in the life of a Met Police officer with PC Daniel Buchanan. Let's have a listen to what this class traitor says.
My name is Daniel Buchanan. I'm a response officer. Our main job is responding to the calls that we receive every day in London. I joined the Met in 2021 through the degree holder entry program, which is available to those who already hold a degree.
Oh, you horrible bastards. That's how they fucking get you. That's how they fucking get you. They say, oh, what's that? You studied for 2 years and you got a degree, but you can't get any job because the country's fucked. Well, why don't you come and train to be a police officer? We'll pay off that debt. Don't worry about it. Just sell your soul to the fucking state, bro.
It's a 2-year course The first 4 months of initial training will be taken at uni. This is where you
become a class traitor with your degree.
Undertake your basic training. You will also...
Bro, I love this bit as well. This is where you will learn legislation case law, right? Legislation case law. They don't learn it, right? Again, it's like, he's already said to you, it's a 2-year course, right? Most law courses take like fucking 4 years or some shit. I can't even remember. Like, my mate Ali was studying law. How long does it take to study law? Right, at least 3 years in like law school in America. Typically runs for 3 years in the UK if studied full time. And of course, the police trainees are not going to be sat there learning the law all the fucking time. They're going to be learning how to be a police officer, how to subjugate the masses. Do you know what I mean? How to operate a weapon, how to operate a taser. You know what I mean? Driving school, all these other things, yeah? Makes out that it's like, oh yeah, you learn your legislation case law over the 2 years. But I have quoted laws at police officers and they have gone, we don't care. Basically, for want of a better explanation, they have literally said, sorry, we don't care. We're going to use the power that the state has given us to ignore the law and facilitate the eviction of this vulnerable 60-year-old war veteran. Do you know what I mean? And other examples, right? It's fucked. Our shithouse country won't recognise your qualifications, but we can use you to round up all the others who that applies to. Exactly. 3 years in the US to finish law school, plus 1 more year if you to study for it and pass the bar exam. And even people who've graduated law need to spend, like solicitors, need to spend like 23 hours reading certain like contracts and like, you know, stuff like that. You know, sometimes it can take weeks to like read a certain law to make sure that like everything's like up to scratch and like do notes and referencing and all that. There's no fucking copper doing that ever, anywhere.
Case law, undertake your basic training. You will also spend some time at like Met premises, either doing IT training or personal safety training. So you learn how to use handcuffs safely.
Yeah, literally, just like I said.
Colleagues and the public.
Just like I fucking said.
After you've done your initial 4 months, you would then do 2 months of street duties, which is like a tutorship-led phase with other...
Oh, so they make you do free labour as a police officer as well. That's very funny.
Students. Here, you're actually out and about in uniform in London, policing the street.
That's funny as fuck, man. That's funny as fuck. So what you're saying to me is you get these young guys, yeah, who potentially have a bit of a chip on their shoulder because society's not turning out their way, and you let them just go willy-nilly on the streets of London with like firearm training and all that stuff to bully people and shoot people's dogs. Yeah? That's what you do. All right.
Surprised on my first day, meeting other officers from all sorts of different backgrounds, not ones that you would typically expect, has just shown me that not only is London diverse, but it's police.
Oh, it's so diverse. I'm so glad that there's such a diverse amount of ethnic backgrounds in the police. It really shows that the police are definitely not institutionally racist as found in the Casey report. The Met Police is not, they're not racist. They hire all kinds of people to do their disgusting racist work. So that means that they're not racist. They're not institutionally racist. It's fine.
Actually very diverse. People from all sorts of different cultures, countries. It brings a lot of different experience into the workplace. People have gone out of their way to talk to me and say that they think what I'm doing is good. They're surprised someone so young is doing it. And then the fact that
No, bro, that's all the fucking officers in your shit going like, oh, thank God there's some young blood in the fucking Met, because, you know, it's all getting old here. Like, there's not enough people. Like, we're losing officers on the daily because they hate themselves for the people that they've killed. Do you know what I mean?
Young and black is another surprise for them.
How is that? Bro, are you serious? Are you serious? He literally just said the fact that I'm young and black surprises them, which is kind of racist in and of itself, isn't it? Oh my God, you're a young black guy joining the police. Can't believe it. That's a racist thing to think. It's a racist thing to think that it would be a shock that like a young black guy would never join the police. Oh my God, young black guy, never going to join them because all young black guys, they just do crime, don't they? Literally. I swear to God. Is it just me? Is this guy sound incredibly ashamed of himself? Oh yeah, definitely. Somewhere deep down inside him, there's going to be that thing, that little voice, that same one that's in King Charles being like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. It's going to be a bit louder for this guy though, because he's not a king, is he? He's far from it. He's a class traitor. Do you know what I mean? He's the guard. You know what I mean? The guard eye.
I'm young and black.
Yeah, they're surprised because they're used to beating up young black guys. They'll be so, oh, we'll have to be careful not to accidentally beat you up, bro. Good job you're wearing that badge.
I've been in the job for about a year. I've enjoyed response the most, mainly due to just how varied it is.
Mainly due to the fact that I can just beat up anyone I want without any repercussions. I love it.
As cliche as it sounds, every day really is different. One of the things that inspired me would be to help people. As a response officer, when you can actually see something all the way through, people who've broken the law come to justice, the victim themselves being...
Bro, he's got a fucking battering ram. He's smiling. He's like, I'm about to ruin these drug dealers' day. I'm about to fucking ruin this guy's entire life. Look at me with my battering ram.
Happy or relieved. I do find that quite rewarding.
Fucking little twat. You absolute pillar. Every single one of them.
A lot of different opportunities to people, whether it's specializing in traffic.
Oh, don't worry. You don't have to go around beating up old ladies. You can, if you want, you could be like one of our IT support guys. You could be one of the people who answers the phones. Don't worry. It's all fine. You're all still part of the same fucking machine, though.
Counterterrorism, financial crime, the Marine unit. There is a role for everyone.
I fucking hate this propaganda so much. This shit should be illegal. This shit should be fucking illegal. You know what I mean? Never mind all the other stuff. Anyway, listen, chat. That's the Fuck the Met segment. We're done with that for now. But I've got to go and have another wee real quick. So enjoy the tunes. Back in a tick. I'm back. I can't get to That's Piss on my phone anymore unless I download TikTok. It's very annoying. Oh, I'm very sorry. Well, here you go. You can have it on the Muel stream.
That's piss. That's piss.
There you go. Bit of That's Piss for you. There you go. You enjoyed that, didn't you? You enjoyed that, didn't you? Now, chat, I have a very special segment here. And this is, again, thanks to the extra little supplemental articles that came with Organize issue 69, I think it is. I don't know. Maybe it's 72 or something. I don't know. The latest edition of Organize, right? Which is really, really, really good magazine filled with lots of cool stuff about organizing. You know, definitely get it. Give your money to Anarchist Federation. Very, very cool. Very, very based. So, with that in mind, we are gonna, if I can find like a relevant image somehow. What would be like a relevant image for this? I am gonna read The Spirit of Revolution. Do you know what? We'll just have a big, because it's quite funny actually, isn't it? It's quite fucking funny. I'm gonna read something from Peter Kropotkin, and the issue with it is that if I do this, and I do this, hold up, actually, 1 second, I just got to change some stuff real quick. No content warning for this segment. The segment's called The Spirit of Revolt, and I'm going to be reading The Spirit of Revolt by Peter Kropotkin. But, as I say, if I do this, and then do this, and then look like this, I'm actually turning into Peter Kropotkin in a way, aren't I? Kind of look exactly like him. And I'm going to be reading him live on stream for you today. This is The Spirit of Revolt by Peter Kropotkin. So it's very old text. So I'm going to stumble over a bit of this. But it's very, very cool, right? Future me, future Muel. And by the way, if you've been enjoying the stream, by the way, please consider subbing off Twitch. This is my full-time job. You know, I need money to pay my bills. I need money to pay my rent. I need money to eat, etc. Enjoy my life in what little ways I can. So please consider subbing off Twitch. I would only ask you to sub the same amount that you would if you do it on Twitch, so like £5, whatever it is, $5, 10 Aotearoan dollars or whatever it is. But yeah. We are almost halfway to the halfway point, chat. £187.90. So, like, only like another, I don't know, what would it be, like 225 to get to the halfway point between now and 450. Hopefully we can hit that by the end of the week. That would be pretty cool. Like, I don't know, it's going to be like £100 every day or something. We've not quite hit that today, but maybe we could bring it back tomorrow. But please, 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 please consider supporting me off Twitch. And also, if you are unable to support me financially, don't worry about it. Just retweet the Go Live tweet. That's in the chat right now. Forgot to set the Go Live tweet as well today, but here we go. I got it here. It's in the chat. Anyway, the spiel is done. Let's read. This is The Spirit of Revolt by Peter Kropotkin. It was written in 1880, chat. So, almost 150 years ago. Yeah? I'm just going to have a big sip of water before this, because this is a fucking lot. Okay, so it begins with... There are periods in the life of human society when revolution becomes an imperative necessity, when it proclaims itself as inevitable. New ideas germinate everywhere, seeking to force their way into the light, to find an application in life. Everywhere they are opposed by the inertia of those whose interest it is to maintain the old order. They suffocate in the stifling atmosphere of prejudice and traditions. The accepted ideas of the constitution of the state, of the laws of social equilibrium, of the political and economic interrelations of citizens can hold out no longer against the implacable criticism which is daily undermining them whenever occasion arises. In drawing room as in cabaret, in the writings of philosopher as in daily conversation. Political, economic, and social institutions are crumbling. The social structure, having become uninhabitable, is hindering, even preventing the development of the seeds which are being propagated within its damaged walls and being brought forth around them. So in that first paragraph, there's a lot of like relevance to nowadays, which is a bit crazy, a little bit scary, isn't it? You know, talking about the accepted ideas of the constitution of the state, the laws of social equilibrium, and everywhere the new ideas that are being germinated are opposed by the inertia of those whose interest it is to maintain the status quo, right? So, like, we're talking about people who want to maintain the status quo, you know, talking about, well, what is the status quo? There's so many different things that you could say is the status quo. Things like the cis-hetero normative patriarchy, white supremacy, monarchism, all this kind of stuff, right? So it's very relatable. The need for a new life becomes apparent. The code of established morality, that which governs the greater number of people in their daily life, no longer seems sufficient. What formerly seemed just is now felt to be a crying injustice. The morality of yesterday is today recognized as revolting immorality. The conflict between new ideas and old traditions flames up in every class of society, in every possible environment, in the very bosom of the family. The son struggles against his father. He finds revolting what his father has all his life found natural. The daughter rebels against the principles which her mother has had handed down to her as the result of long experience. Daily, the popular conscience rises up against the scandals which breed amidst the privileged and the leisured, against the crimes committed in the name of the law of the stronger, or in order to maintain these privileges. Those who long for the triumph of justice, those who would put new ideas into practice, are soon forced to recognize that the realization of their generous, humanitarian, and regenerating ideas cannot take place in a society thus constituted. They perceive the necessity of a revolutionary whirlwind, which will sweep away all this rottenness, revive sluggish hearts with its breath, and bring to mankind that spirit of devotion, self-denial, and heroism without which society sinks through degradation and vileness into complete disintegration. So it's like lots of talk of doomerism there as well. Talk about the patriarchy without explicitly mentioning it as well. It's sort of implied, but I don't know if Kropotkin was implying that, or if, you know, he was just talking about like the way that his dad treats workers or whatever. Who knows? I know that Kropotkin was like one of the most base people of his time, and did a lot of like analysis of you know, class, workers, society, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if he ever spoke about like you know, racism or white supremacy or anything like that, but in periods of frenzied haste towards wealth, of feverish speculation, and of crisis, of the sudden downfall of great industries and the ephemeral expansion of other branches of production, of scandalous fortunes amassed in a few years and dissipated as quickly, it becomes evident that the economic institutions which control production and exchange are far from giving to society the prosperity which they are supposed to guarantee. They produce precisely the opposite result. Instead of order, they bring forth chaos. Instead of prosperity, poverty and insecurity. Instead of reconciled interests, war. A perpetual war of the exploiter against the worker, of exploiters and of workers amongst themselves. Human societies seem to be splitting more and more into two hostile camps, and at the same time to be subdividing into thousands of small groups waging merciless war against each other. Weary of these wars, weary of the miseries which they cause, society rushes to seek a new organization. It clamors loudly for a complete remodeling of the system of property ownership, of production, of exchange, and all economic relations which spring from it. So again, that's sounding very relevant to what we've got nowadays, right? Which is the two hostile camps, basically fascist and anti-fascist, dead easy, right? But amongst that, thousands of different sort of little organizations that aren't really doing much. Do you know what I mean? It's like sort of like very, very relevant to what we see in the political zeitgeist of right now, right? The machinery of government entrusted with the maintenance of the existing order continues to function, but at every turn, its deteriorated gears... Sorry, at every turn of its deteriorated gears, it slips and stops. Its working becomes more and more difficult, and the dissatisfaction caused by its defects grows continuously. Every day gives rise to a new demand. Reform this, reform that is heard from all sides. War, finance, taxes, courts, police, everything must be remodeled, reorganized, established on a new basis, say the reformers. And that all know and yet all know that it is impossible to make things over, to remodel anything at all, because everything is interrelated. Everything would have to be remade at once. And how can society be remodeled when it is divided into two openly hostile camps? To satisfy the discontented would only be to create new malcontents. So, arguing for abolition rather than reform, right? Incapable of undertaking reform, since this would mean paving the way for revolution, and at the same time too impotent to be frankly reactionary, the governing bodies apply themselves to half measures which can satisfy nobody and only cause new dissatisfaction. The mediocrities who, in such transition periods, undertake to steer the ship of state think of but one thing: to enrich themselves against the coming debacle. Attacked from all sides, they defend themselves awkwardly. They evade, they commit blunder upon blunder, and soon succeed in cutting the last rope of salvation. They drown the prestige of the government in ridicule caused by their own incapacity. Such periods demand revolution. It becomes social necessity. The situation itself is revolutionary. Telephone 92, two camps meaning communism and versus capitalism. Yeah, bad versus good. Or fascism versus liberation for all, right? Welcome to the stream, by the way. But that also, again, very, very relevant to what's going on in Tory Britain, right? We've literally got, at the minute, so many blunders in Parliament, in the organisation of the Tory party, like every single aspect of it, you know? Completely fucked. Incapacitated in terms of, like, unable to show themselves as this grand, mystical order that is looking after everybody. Everybody knows that the Tory party are completely incompetent at anything remotely. Like, incompetent is not the word, right? Do you know what I mean? Not the, not in the words of, like, incompetency in terms of, like, they're unable to do the job properly. It's more like they're not doing the job on properly on purpose, right? Obviously. Hey, Rat Freak, how's it going? Just feel the doom to repeat it hard. Yeah, but like, listen to what you're saying here. You're saying in 1880, when there were revolutions happening all the time back then, and like, you know, other ones that had happened like 100 years ago. Hello, Aslan. It's not showing up here, yeah, but Aslan said, fuck the Tories, abolish the monarchy. Thank you so much for the Prime Gaming sub, dude. Thank you so much for the 16 months. Hello. Doomed to repeat it part. Yeah, you're talking about like 1880, right? And think about like some of the revolutions that have happened since then. You know, there have been monarchies that have been ousted since 1880. Yeah? So like, doomed to repeat it, things are definitely better than they were in 1880. Right, in a lot of ways. So, you know, claiming that there's been like no progress made is a bit doom-pilled. You know, no offense, I get it, I understand. Maybe I've read you wrong there, I don't know. As I see it, fascism is the last response to failed communism. Fascism is a failed revolution. Sure, failed revolution definitely, because ideally the revolution should be one of workers. Like we already have fascism. We just have like tempered fascism with like a fancy suit on, right? So if fascism prevails over any kind of communism or anarchism or democracy or, you know, anti-fascism, then yes, it's a failed revolution because the status quo has been upheld. It's just been upheld in a far more brutal manner, right? More brutal than what we're used to, which is sort of like, you know, soft fascism, isn't it? Oh, you meant the whole quote. The people that don't learn history are doomed to repeat it. There are powerful machines making sure that people are not given the tools to learn this stuff. Yeah, but we could beat them. The machines are not that powerful. And he's going to go into this more. So stay tuned for like the next 5 minutes or so. When we study in the works of our greatest historians and the genesis and development of vast revolutionary convulsions, we generally find under the heading, the cause of the revolution, a gripping picture of the situation on the eve of events, the misery of the people, the general insecurity, the vexatious measures of the government, the odious scandals laying bare the immense vices of society, the new ideas struggling to come to the surface and repulsed by the incapacity of the supporters of the former regime. Nothing is omitted. Examining this picture, one arrives at the conviction that the revolution was indeed inevitable and that there was no other way out than by the road of insurrection. Take, for example, the situation before 1789 as the historians picture it. You can almost hear the peasant complaining of the salt tax, of the tithe, the feudal payments, the vowing in his heart an implacable hatred towards the feudal baron, the monk, the monopolist, the bailiff. You can almost see the citizen bewailing the loss of his municipal liberties, showering maledictions upon the king. The people censure the Queen. They're revolted by the reports of ministerial action, and they cry out continually that the taxes are intolerable and the revenue payments exorbitant, that crops are bad, winter's hard, the provisions are too dear, and the monopolists are too grasping, that the village lawyer devours the peasants' crops, and the village constable tries to play the role of a petty king, even that the mail service is badly organized and the employees too lazy. In short, nothing works well, everybody complains. It can last no longer, it will come to a bad end, they cry everywhere. And so he's talking about the divine right of kings, right? Generally speaking, in 1789, before then, like the French Revolution hadn't happened, and all this kind of stuff. Monarchists all over the world were still very, very comfortable, right? But between the specific arguing and insurrection or revolt, there is a wide abyss. That abyss, for which the greatest part of humanity lies between reasoning and action, thought and will, the urge to act. How has this abyss been bridged? How is it that men who were only yesterday complaining quietly of their lot as they smoked their pipes, and the next moment were humbly saluting the local guard and gendarme for who they had just been abusing, how is it that these same men a few days later were capable of seizing their scythes and iron-shod pikes and attacking his castle, the Lord who only yesterday was so formidable? By what miracle were these men, whose wives justly called them cowards, transformed in a day into heroes, marching through bullets and cannonballs to the conquest of their rights? How was it that their words, so often spoken and lost in the air like the empty chiming of bells, were changed into actions? The answer is easy. Action. The continuous action, ceaselessly renewed, of minorities brings about this transformation. Courage, devotion, the spirit of sacrifice are as contagious as cowardice, submission, and panic. Now, I don't know what minorities Kropotkin was talking about here. It's not specified. He might only have been talking about a small amount of people, right? A tiny amount of people, and I think that's what he's alluding to here. But isn't that true? If he's talking about marginalized people, isn't that true? Yeah? What forms will this action take? All forms. Indeed, the most varied forms dictated by circumstances, temperament, and the means at disposal. Sometimes tragic, sometimes humorous, but always daring. Sometimes collective, sometimes purely individual. This policy of action will neglect none of the means at hand, no event of public life, in order to keep the spirit alive, to propagate and find expression for dissatisfaction, to excite hatred against exploiters, to ridicule the government and expose its weaknesses, and above all, and always, by actual example, to awaken courage and fan the spirit of revolt. When a revolutionary situation arises in a country before the spirit of revolt is sufficiently awakened in the masses to express itself in violent demonstrations in the street or by rebellions and uprisings, it is through action that minorities succeed in awakening that feeling of independence and that spirit of audacity without which no revolution can come to a head. Men of courage not satisfied with words but ever searching for the means to transform them into action. Men of integrity for whom the act is one with the idea, for whom prison, exile, and death are preferable to a life contrary to their principles. Intrepid souls who know that it is necessary to dare in order to succeed. These are the lonely sentinels who enter the battle long before the masses are sufficiently roused to raise openly the banner of insurrection and to march arms in hand to the conquest of their rights. So again, chat, talking about getting involved with a union, doing bits of activism here and there, you know, you are joining the masses or joining the lonely sentinels at the first stages of a revolution, right? That's what it means to be a revolutionary, yeah? To do revolutionary acts, to join revolutionary causes, and to inspire the building of power away from those in power already, right? And by revolution here, just so John Twitch is well aware, I'm not talking about bloody revolution where people are getting shot and killed and all that. I'm talking about building power away from the government to the point where we do not need them anymore. Now, Kropotkin will talk about the former type of revolution, and I'm not advocating for that. Just going to change this tune because it's a bit weird. Okay, there we go. Doesn't really suit the reading. Where was I? Ah, okay. Here we go. In the midst of discontent, talk, theoretical discussions as an individual or collective act of revolt supervenes, symbolizing the dominant aspirations. It is possible that at the beginning masses will remain indifferent. Sorry, I didn't even say that remotely correctly. He wrote, it is possible that at the beginning the masses will remain indifferent. And that's kind of what we're seeing. That's kind of what we've seen over the last, 20 years or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Still seeing a lot of that now. It is possible that while admiring the courage of the individual or the group which takes the initiative, the masses will at first follow those who are prudent and cautious, who will immediately describe this act as insanity and say that those madmen, those fanatics will endanger everything. So, again, we're talking here about, the policing of protests. And that's definitely, that's definitely something that we see, nowadays. Not actual policing, but, commentators, public figures who are saying, you should do it differently. This is ruining everything. You're ruining it. Right? We're seeing that a lot, especially with Extinction Rebellion, especially with Just Stop Oil and all that stuff. Right? That's all over there. Black Lives Matter as well. That had all of that. That had all of that stuff. The George Floyd uprisings, I should say. They've calculated so well, those prudent and cautious men, that their party, slowly pursuing its work, would, in 100 years, 200 years, 300 years perhaps, succeed in conquering the whole world. And now, the unexpected intrudes. The unexpected, of course, is whatever has not been expected by them. Those prudent and cautious ones. Whoever has a slight knowledge of history and fairly clear head knows perfectly well from the beginning that theoretical propaganda for revolution will necessarily express itself in action long before the theoreticians have decided that the moment to act has come. Think about that one, chat. Nevertheless, the cautious theoreticians are angry at these madmen. They excommunicate them. They anathematize them. But the madmen win sympathy. The mass of the people secretly applaud their courage, and they find imitators. In proportion as the pioneers go fill the jails and the penal colonies, others continue their work. Acts of illegal protest, of revolt, of vengeance multiply. Telephone 92. Black Lives Matter leader had 2 million house. Their clergy in the end. What is that bringing to this discussion, my friend? What exactly is that statement right there bringing to this discussion? What is your point? What point are you trying to make in saying that? They clergy in the end? You mean every single person who thinks that Black Lives Matter is an appropriate statement, it's a good rallying cause to get behind. So me, you're calling me the clergy as well in that statement there. Is that what point you're trying to make? What point are you trying to make there, my friend? Because I think it's a bad one, isn't it? I think it's a bad one, isn't it? I want you to think before you respond to that. Indifference from this point on is impossible. Those who, at the beginning, never so much as asked what the madmen wanted, are compelled to think about them, to discuss their ideas, to take sides for or against. By actions which compel general attention, the new idea seeps into people's minds and wins converts. One such act may, in a few days, make more propaganda than thousands of pamphlets. Above all, it awakens the spirit of revolt. It breeds daring. The old order, supported by the police, the magistrates, the gendarmes, and the soldiers, appeared unshakable, like the old fortress of the Bastille, which also appeared impregnable to the eyes of the unarmed people gathered beneath its high walls, equipped with loaded cannons. But soon it became apparent the established order has not the force one had supposed. One courageous act has sufficed to upset in a few days the entire governmental machinery, to make the Colossus tremble. Another revolt has stirred a whole province into turmoil, and the army, till now always so imposing, has retreated before a handful of peasants armed with sticks and stones. The people observe that the monster is not so terrible they thought it begin. They begin dimly to perceive that a few energetic efforts will be sufficient to throw it down. Hope is born in their hearts, and let us remember that if exasperation often drives men to revolt, it is always hope, the hope of victory, which makes revolutions. Hi, Chrissy Love, how's it going? And hello, Mash Buttons, welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. I usually lurk, but I'll be more active. Hey, whatever's clever. I appreciate lurkers. Listen. And hi, Vord. How are you doing as well? This text is very current. Yes. Fascism is the last response to a failed communism. Fascism has always been a response to communism, failed or not. Yeah. Yeah, look, I mean, there's no need to, like, you know, pick out this chatter's previous statements and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've asked them a question. I've told them to think about it. They're away. They're thinking about it. You know? There's no need to bully the chatter, right? That's my job. That's what I do. And my mods. But I don't have mods here, so anyway. The government resists. It is savage in its repressions. But, well, use of the term savage, pretty bad. But we understand why that's bad. In the context, we know what he means. Brutal. But though formerly persecution killed the energy of the oppressed, now in periods of excitement it produces the opposite result. It provokes new acts of revolt, individual and collective. It drives the rebels to heroism. And in rapid succession these acts spread, become general, develop. The Revolutionary Party is strengthened by elements which up to this time were hostile or indifferent to it. The general disintegration penetrates into the government, the ruling classes, the privileged. Some of them advocate resistance to the limit. Others are in favor of concessions. Others, again, go so far as to declare themselves ready to renounce their privileges for the moment in order to appease the spirit of revolt, hoping to dominate again later on. The unity of the government and the privileged class is broken. The ruling classes may also try to find safety in, again, savage, we'll call it brutal, reaction. But it is now too late. The battle only becomes more bitter, more terrible, and the revolution which is looming will only be more bloody. On the other hand, the smallest concession of the governing classes, since it becomes too late, since it has been snatched in struggle, only awakes the revolutionary spirit still more. The common people who formerly would have been satisfied with the smallest concession observe now that the enemy is wavering. They foresee victory, they feel their courage growing, and the same men who were formerly crushed by misery and were content to sigh in secret now lift their heads and march proudly to the conquest of a better future. Finally, the revolution breaks out, the more terrible as the preceding struggles were bitter. The direction which the revolution will take depends, no doubt, on the sum total of the various circumstances that determine the coming of the cataclysm, but it can be predicted in advance, according to the vigor of revolutionary action displayed in the preparatory period by the different progressive parties. One party may have developed more clearly the theories which it defines and the program which it desires to realize. It may have made the propaganda actively by speech and in print, but it may not have sufficiently expressed its aspirations in the open, on the street, by actions which embody the thought it represents.
The enhancement of the information superhighway has created a society void of human flesh.
It has done little or it has done nothing against those who are its principal enemies. It has not attacked the institutions which it wants to demolish. Its strength has been in theory, not in action. It has contributed little to awaken the spirit of revolt, or it has neglected to direct that spirit against conditions which it particularly desires to attack at the time of the revolution. As a result, this party is less known. Its aspirations have not been daily and continuously affirmed by the actions, the glamour of which could reach even the remotest hut. They have not sufficiently penetrated into the consciousness of the people. They have not identified themselves with the crowd and the street. They have never found simple expression in a popular slogan. Right? So with here, we're talking about, you know, people who make very sort of like, you know, basic arguments, basic propaganda and stuff, but unfortunately through lack of action and more just kind of like sitting around and deliberating and not really doing anything, you know, the message is lost. And that's kind of where revolutions suffer. Yeah. The most active writers of such a party are known by their readers as thinkers of great merit, but they have neither the reputation nor the capacities of men of action. And on the day when the mobs pour through the streets, they'll prefer to follow the advice of those who have less precise theoretical ideas and not such great aspirations, but whom they know better because they have seen them act. And that, chat, is known as propaganda of the deed, right? The party which has made most revolutionary propaganda, which has shown most spirit and daring, will be listened to on the day when it is necessary to act, to march in front, in order to realize the revolution. But that party which has not had the daring to affirm itself by revolutionary acts in the preparatory periods, nor had a driving force strong enough to inspire men and groups to the sentiment of abnegation, to the irresistible desire to put their ideas into practice. If this desire had existed, it would have expressed itself in action long before the mass of the people had joined the revolt, and which did not know how to make its flag popular and its aspirations tangible and comprehensive. That party will only have a small chance of realizing even the least part of its program. It will be pushed aside by the parties of action. These things we learn from the history of the periods which precede great revolution. The revolutionary bourgeoisie understood this perfectly. It neglected no means of agitation to awaken the spirit of revolt when it tried to demolish the monarchical order. The French peasant of the 18th century understood it instinctively when it was a question of abolishing feudal rights, and the International acted in accordance with the same principles when it tried to awaken the spirit of revolt among workers of the cities and to direct it against the natural enemy of the wage earner, the monopolizer of the means of production and raw materials. Boom. There it is, chat. Peter Kropotkin's Spirit of Revolt. Lots of things in there that we can, like, you know, relate to nowadays. It's a very relevant text. Do you know what I mean? I should probably get it. It seems more direct and real than the previous two books I read by Kropotkin. You could just get it. It's just, that's it. I've just read it to you. You don't really need it. It's just, I've just read it all to you. Like, that's... well, I think it is anyway. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure there's no other, like, text on these pages. Because when you fold this out, it's like a really nice piece of art. Which is quite nice. And I think it's got, like, yeah, it's got a Bakunin quote on there. The revolt is a natural tendency of life. Even a worm turns against the foot that crushes it. Very cool. Gonna stick that on my wall at a later date, now that I've read you all The Spirit of Revolt. Hey, Popo, how are you doing? Welcome in. Yeah, Organize is a great magazine to get, and you should all get it. You should all support Anarchist Federation. They're really, really cool. Yeah, absolutely awesome, absolutely based. And I'm glad that everybody has enjoyed the stream today. It's been good to see everybody here. Whether you've donated, whether you've subbed, whether you've rated, whether you've just been in the chat, whether you've been lurking, if you've been watching this VOD on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and, you know, share, comment, all that stuff. Those of you on Twitch, we're going to go and raid now. Who am I going to raid? I don't know. I'm going to find out right now. Let's have a little look here. What have we got? What have we got? What have we got? Who have we got? What have we got? So many people. So many people live. Who do we raid? I am going to go ahead and raid. We're going to raid Nicotine. It's been a while since I've raided Nicotine. She's great. We love her to bits. What a fantastic, wonderful person that you will all enjoy very much streaming the video game. No. Date day? Wait, what? What's she doing? Bowling? Wait, what's she doing? She's doing bowling? I don't know what the fuck. Anyway. Chat, we're going to go ahead and raid Nicotine. Thank you so much, everybody, for stopping by today. It's been really fun. I've done a really good stream, I think. Please copy and paste the raid message. Come along with me to the old Nicotine stream. I'm just sort of watching an ad right now. I just have to make sure, figure out what's going on. Great, she's gone to be right back. Fantastic. Well, listen, chat, you're going to have a good time in the chat anyway. There's lots of cool chatters in there. I'll be in there myself. Take it easy. I'll see you all tomorrow. Same time, same Muel time, same Muel place. And stay excellent to each other. Mwah. Peace, 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 peace.